what happened to the rest of the music, and what time is it?
It's Podblast time! That's right, it's Podblast time. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? This, of course, is your weird, informative, and hopefully fun time capsule of memories of days gone by as we forge ahead together in the game of life. Specifically, we're talking pop culture history and life experiences that we all have in common. That's what the Nostalgic Podblast is all about. This is the Nostalgia Show with a bite. Welcome, I'm Chance Bartels, your host. No relation to Chance the Rapper. Ha ha ha. We've got a good one for you today, as Steve Harvey would say, and does say at the beginning of Family Feud when he hosts it. Of course, he always hosts it. He's the current host of Family Feud. So last night, for YouTubers only, I did a tribute to deceased actor David McCallum from NCIS and The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and a bunch of other stuff. And I also talked about two classic stars who were big screen superheroes who share the same birth date of September 25th. Now tonight, for listeners and Facebookers of the Nostalgic Podblast, this show, I'm going to talk about those actors as well. But what I didn't cover last night, which I will for you tonight, are these things. I have a 10-minute summer 2023 movie review from my 10-year-old niece, Molly. She's very intelligent, and she offers an interesting perspective of movies that she saw in the theater. 3 movies she saw with my younger sister, her mom. And she makes some great observations in her review of these 3 movies. Also new tonight will be our regular features, the old-fashioned expression of the week, the classic music video of the week, which is a newer feature, the TV cliche of the week, the fake rant of the week, the nostalgic toy of the week. And I think these are all good ones that I have for you. You be the judge. And these features will be complete with fun jingles, interviews with the stars, and other clips for your ears. So again, if you tuned into the official YouTube channel, The Nostalgic Podblast, and saw the live YouTube show last night, this will be a little bit repetitive just in the beginning. But again, I'm adding all of that aforementioned new, if you can call it new, material for tonight. So this edition of the Nostalgic Podblast should be about 2 hours long. If you want to call in to talk about David McCallum, Christopher Reeve, Mark Hamill, or summer 2023 movies, or anything nostalgic, the number is 770-438-1050, or comment here in the Facebook Live chat comment area with your thoughts. But we must begin with this. From Variety.com, last night I credited this as being from the Hollywood Reporter. Oops, it was actually Variety.com. Headline: David McCallum, star of NCIS and The Man from U.N.C.L.E., dies at the age of 90. And I'll get to more about him in just a second. I have some really good audio of him I want to share with you. But I want to play just about 40 seconds of a local ABC affiliate news story about the passing of David McCallum, who passed away back on September 25th, 2023.
We have breaking news out of the entertainment world. Veteran actor David McCallum has died at the age of 90. The Scottish actor first made a name for himself as the co-star of the spy drama The Man from U.N.C.L.E. in the 1960s. He most recently co-starred as Chief Medical Examiner Donald Ducky Mallard on NCIS. McCallum died of natural causes, surrounded by family at a New York hospital.
Wow. So that was a big blow to pop culture lore. Yeah, he lived a long time. He had a great life, and he's immortal on film and video. But a lot of people were upset. There were so many fans of NCIS, and I haven't seen those yet, and I bet I would love it. So I didn't mean to be dismissive. Some people commented, "Oh no, not Ducky," and I remember him from The Man from U.N.C.L.E. because I'm a geek, you know, and I discovered that show watching reruns of it on TNT, Turner Network Television, in the 1990s, because I wasn't around when it originally aired on NBC. We'll talk about that show in just a little bit, briefly. But he was beloved. I mean, he was on that show for, I guess, 20 years. Yeah, in fact, I know, on NCIS. But just some brief history about David McCallum. He, of course, starred as Ilya Kuryakin opposite Robert Vaughn as Napoleon Solo. I wonder if that's for Han Solo. I bet you George Lucas named Han Solo after Napoleon Solo. That was Robert Vaughn's character in the 1960s hit spy drama, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. I call it Uncle, not U-N-C-L-E. Maybe I've been wrong all these years. I don't know, but I call it The Man from U.N.C.L.E. And U.N.C.L.E., what did that stand for? Do you know? I'm going to tell you. The United Network Command for Law and Enforcement is what U-N-C-L-E stands for in the show. And it was basically, I'm diverting from the article here, just off the record, on the record yet off the record. It was, of course, a TV ripoff, or not a ripoff, but a TV version of the James Bond mega successful franchise movies, which began in 1962. Man from U.N.C.L.E. hit TV in 1964, and I liked it okay, but it was James Bond light because they had to deal with network television censors and whatnot. And, you know, it had good action, but it didn't have the budget of a Sean Connery James Bond movie of the 1960s, or George Lazenby in the 1960s and On Her Majesty's Secret Service. But Dave McCallum had a wonderful supporting role, character role, as pathologist Dr. Donald Ducky Mallard. Ducky was his nickname, on the top-rated TV series NCIS decades after The Man from U.N.C.L.E. And unfortunately, as you heard in the audio piece, he passed away on September 25th, which was a Monday, of natural causes in New York City at the age of 90. His son Peter made a statement on behalf of his family saying, quote, "He was the kindest, coolest, most patient and loving father. He always put family before self. He looked forward to any chance to connect with his grandchildren and had a unique bond with each of them. He and his youngest grandson, Whit, age 9, could often be found in the corner of a room at family parties having deep philosophical conversations. He was a true Renaissance man. He was fascinated by science and culture and would turn those passions into knowledge. For example, he was capable of conducting a symphony orchestra and, if needed, could actually perform an autopsy based on his decades-long studies for his role on NCIS. After returning from the hospital to their apartment, I asked my mother if she was okay before she went to sleep. Her answer was simply, yes, but I do wish we had a chance to grow old together. She was 79, and Dad had just turned 90. The honesty in that emotion shows how vibrant their beautiful relationship and daily lives were, and that somehow, even at 90, Daddy never grew old." Unquote. The James Bond-influenced television show The Man from U.N.C.L.E., in which Vaughn's Napoleon Solo and David McCallum's Kuryakin battled the evil forces of Thrush around the globe. Thanks to the glories of stock footage, they had to interject there. And it was quite the pop cultural phenomenon of the mid-1960s, even as the show's tone wavered from fairly serious to cartoonish and back again to serious over its 4 television seasons. It spawned a spin-off, The Girl from U.N.C.L.E., starring Stephanie Powers, long before Heart to Heart, as well as a new feature adaptation. This is where the article's wrong. New feature adaptations during the run of the TV series titled One Spy Too Many and One of Our Spies is Missing and The Karate Killers, that starred Robert Vaughn and David McCallum. No, those were like edits of 2-parters of The Man from U.N.C.L.E., edited to be like a TV movie, 2-hour movie in rerun syndication on television. Anyway, but they did do a reunion movie. I'll talk about that in a second. David McCallum also guest starred as Kuryakin on the sitcom Please Don't Eat the Daisies. He reprised the role in 1983 for the TV movie The Return of the Man from U.N.C.L.E., the 15 years later affair. That was the cool thing about the title, or unique thing. It wasn't really that cool, but it was always the affair. You know, the Vulcan affair. There's actually an episode titled The Vulcan Affair before Star Trek, and William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy acted together in a season 1 Man from U.N.C.L.E. episode. And the first season was in black and white, and then the other 3 seasons were in full color. In an appreciation of the Man from U.N.C.L.E. series in the Boston Globe in 2008, Mark Feeney wrote, quote, "Where Robert Vaughn's solo was chilly, David McCallum's Kuryakin was cool. Very cool indeed. If Julie Christie had the 60s sexiest lower lip, as she most certainly did, then McCallum was a distant second." Okay. Add in his blonde bangs, high cerebral forehead, and penchant for dark turtlenecks, and a teen idol was born, unquote. A Guy Ritchie directed feature adaptation of The Man from U.N.C.L.E. was released in August of 2015 by MGM with Henry Cavill, the movie Superman, and Armie Hammer, who has really fallen out of favor because of some things we won't talk about on this family show. Armie Hammer starred as Napoleon Solo. No, Henry Cavill was Napoleon Solo. I saw the movie. Where's my brain? And that Armie Hammer, troubled Armie Hammer of the Arm and Hammer Empire, the what you put in your freezer, right? The baking soda. He's one of those hammers. Anyway, let me just start over. Guy Ritchie, by the way, was married to Madonna, and she trashed him. I saw her in concert in 2018 or 2017. Can't remember. I think it was 2018. I said 2017 last night in YouTube Live. And during the concert, in between songs, she took the liberty to just trash her ex-husband at the time. But he's a good director, and I liked that movie. That was didn't do well at the box office, very underrated. It had that international feel, like a James Bond movie or even a Pink Panther movie. Remember those international releases from MGM UA that were big all around the world? I mean, hell, I guess like the Marvel movies are big all around the world, but you know, those were like filmed primarily in England. That's what I mean. Like they weren't filmed in America. They were filmed in different locations all over the globe, like the James Bond movies and that sort of thing. But the Guy Ritchie directed feature adaptation of The Man from U.N.C.L.E. was released in August 2015 with Henry Cavill and Armie Hammer starring as Solo and Kuryakin, respectively. On CBS's Smash NCIS, centering on a team of agents from the Naval Criminal Investigative Service led by Mark Harmon's Leroy Jethro Gibbs, David McCallum's Dr. Mallard, Ducky, if you will, offered not only key forensic clues, but also served as a criminal profiler. Mallard had a wacky ancient mother who eventually developed dementia and later died. That's sad. And McCallum was key to the series' successful blend of drama with comedy, which was leveraged with comedy. NCIS debuted in 2003, over 20 years ago, and it spawned 2 spinoffs, NCIS Los Angeles and NCIS New Orleans. CBS said in a statement, quote, "We are deeply saddened by the passing of David McCallum and privileged that CBS was his home for so many years. David was a gifted actor and author, and he was beloved by many around the world. He led an incredible life, and his legacy will live forever and live on through his family and his countless hours on film and television, which will never go away. We will miss his warmth and endearing sense of humor that lit up any room or soundstage he stepped onto, as well as the brilliant stories he often shared from a life well lived. Our hearts go out to his wife, Catherine, spelled with a K, and his entire family, and all those who knew and loved David," unquote. NCIS was voted America's favorite television show back in 2011 in a Harris poll, and it was the most watched TV series in the USA during the 2012 to 2013 TV season. In a 2012 interview, David McCallum explained to Variety's Chris Willman why he was still working after 6 decades in the business. Quote, "I'm doing it because I absolutely love what I'm doing. I'm doing what I was born to do. And I've done it when I joined Equity in 1946. And it's wonderful to have this show and this character at this point in my career. My life is dedicated to the new script coming through the door," he continued, "making sure that all the pathology is right, and then finding out how many words I have to learn for Ducky, which then translates into how many hours I have to do to work to get it in my head and get it as best we can. It sometimes seems you go in, you have a couple of lines, and Polly talks all the time. Or other times you go into a scene and you have 3 pages of detailed medical jargon, and I have to work really hard to get that and make it sound glib and make it sound as if I know what I'm doing." Unquote. Though he was busy with NCIS, David McCallum had developed something of a second career as a voice actor on Toon Disney in the show The Replacements, in which he performed CAR, various iterations of the Big Ten series as Professor Paradox, and in video games such as Diablo 3, Reaper of Souls. David Keith McCallum was born in Glasgow, Scotland, to a father who was first violinist for the London Philharmonic and a mother who was a cellist. She played the cello. Thus, he originally pursued a career in music, training on the oboe and studying for a time at the Royal Academy of Music, though he soon left and enrolled at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. After the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, he started performing with theater companies. Before he had actually begun his professional acting career when he was 12 in 1946, performing for the BBC Radio Company. He made his screen debut in the BBC fantasy miniseries titled The Rose and the Ring in 1953. Welcome to the Biography Channel, ladies and gentlemen. But I think he's important, and I want to do this right. Just a couple more paragraphs here to share with you. The young actor, David McCallum, appeared in the big screen crime dramas titled The Secret Place, Hell Drivers, and Violent Playground in the late 1950s, along with the Australian Western titled Robbery Under Arms, starring Peter Finch. In the 1958 film titled A Night to Remember about the Titanic, he had a small role as a wireless operator. David McCallum did a lot of British television at this stage in his career, including a 1959 BBC adaptation of Antigone, and BBC adaptations of Jane Austen's Emma in 1960 and Wuthering Heights in 1962. In 1961, he appeared in the stark, claustrophobic, British-made World War II film titled The Long and the Short and the Tall, otherwise known as Jungle Fighters, along with Richard Harris, Richard Todd, and Lawrence Harvey. And he had a supporting role. The article has bad grammar, and he had supporting role. He had a supporting role in Peter Ustinov's Billy Budd and John Huston's Freud the following year. 1963, this is a year I'm going to talk about and play a clip of some acting he did in 1963. In 1963, David McCallum had the good fortune to be cast in the high-profile, monumentally successful American-made film The Great Escape, starring Steve McQueen and a host of other actors. David McCallum was a key supporting player as a member of the team nicknamed Dispersal. And though his performance is not the first thing one remembers from the film, it allowed him to break through. In George Stevens' 1964 Christ epic titled The Greatest Story Ever Told, starring Max von Sydow, Ming the Merciless himself, David McCallum played Judas, further boosting his acting profile. The New York Times said, David McCallum's Judas oozes a chilling treachery. David McCallum guested. I don't like that word. I keep paraphrasing around that. I don't like guested. Means guest starred in, obviously, but I'll just read it verbatim. The actor guested on American TV shows, including Perry Mason and The Outer Limits. The Outer Limits. And he, just as he began his run on The Man from U.N.C.L.E. leading up to it. I want to talk about this briefly. I'm not going to play a clip of it. I've talked about this several times in the Podblast, but David McCallum was in 2 key episodes of The Outer Limits. One, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook Live, if you're listening, I would direct you to our YouTube channel, The Nostalgic Podblast, and you'll find the show with the subject line, David McCallum Remembered. But in the background, by the lamp, is a videotape that I bought from Camelot Music back in 1988 when it was released on VHS for $14.95 plus tax. That was pretty steep for one episode. Again, Star Trek is the reason we had VHS releases. It led to DVD releases. It led to Blu-ray releases. It led to streaming. Star Trek, we talked about that in the anniversary, 57th anniversary Podblast of the original Star Trek. It was the pioneer. And back in 1985, that's when Paramount Pictures released Star Trek as individual episodes in 10-episode batches. They tried 10 episodes at first, and they sold so well, they released another 10, every quarter or every couple months or so until they released all 79 original classic Star Trek. So thanks to Star Trek, you had The Outer Limits on VHS. And they first released 3 episodes, The Galaxy Being, which was the Outer Limits pilot, and The Man with the Power, starring Donald Pleasance, future Loomis in the Halloween movies, who took on Michael Myers, and 100 Days of the Dragon, a really chilling Outer Limits episode, not really with monsters. They had human monsters from China that had impersonated the U.S. president, played by Sidney Blackmer, from who later did Rosemary's Baby, the movie. But he played the president, and it was right before JFK was taken out. I don't want to say the word. I don't want to get flagged for saying, I don't want the bots to think I'm saying something, nefarious. But ironically, it aired, and it was filmed right before JFK was taken out. And in this Outer Limits, the 100 Days of the Dragon, man, this plastic surgeon alters a spy's face to look like the president. And they show, this guy getting shot in the face, the real president. I don't want to say it, but it's a chilling episode. Anyway, those were the first 3 released on videotape, and it was in a hard clamshell. I think I have it here in the background. I don't know. It's in my collection. It might be in storage. I thought I'd pulled one of those clamshell cases. Remember VHS had hard clamshell plastic cases? And then after those first 3, they sold so well, they released more Outer Limits, but in this kind of packaging, which I'll hold up closer for the camera. But back to David McCallum. So the reason I even brought that up was he was in this episode, The Sixth Finger. Gonna play a clip in a minute. There's some great lines of dialogue in that. And in that episode, David McCallum played in just a generic European nation. It's got a phony name. It's not a real country that's named in the story. But he's a coal miner. But he yearns to be something greater than he is. So he signs up to be a guinea pig in a British scientist experiment to further man's evolution with a machine. But things go wrong. He signs up to do this, and he starts self-evolving, and he winds up developing a 6th finger on his hand over the course of the episode, and his cranium gets large. I think this character was Stan Lee's inspiration for the leader. I know I'm getting comic booky now, but in The Incredible Hulk, there was a villain titled The Leader who was subjected to gamma radiation, but instead of getting muscles like the Hulk, he got a super brain, huge cranium, huge head, and he always had a thirst for knowledge, like David McCallum's character in this Outer Limits, reading books, and he no longer has the need for sleep. He's constantly wanting to read and absorb knowledge. Books, I want to read them all, do you understand? It was just a great episode, and it had some cheesy moments, and the special effects were not perfect, but Jill Haworth was in it as this innocent girl in the town who loves this guy, and she tries to get him back to the way he was. But the scientist was played by Edward Mulhare, who later starred in The Ghost and Mrs. Muir with Hope Lang, and Knight Rider. He was the boss in Knight Rider. You know what KITT stands for? KITT? Knight Industries 2000, by the way. Just a little piece of useless trivia there. So the other Outer Limits that David McCallum acted in was a proposed spinoff for the Outer Limits. It was going to be a horror 1-hour anthology. Anthology meaning different actors each week, different story each week. But it was going to be a horror story. And it was called The Unknown. And I've talked before, I won't rehash, the Invaders show, which was a few years after The Unknown didn't make it, had the same musical master, Dominique Frontier, who had left the Outer Limits. He did the music for season 1 of Outer Limits, and he left the Outer Limits to work for Quinn Martin on 12 O'Clock High the following season. And but The Unknown did not sell. ABC went with the Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea Irwin Allen show for the 64-65 season, but it was all good for David McCallum because it was an anthology. He wouldn't have been the star of this thing anyway, whether it was picked up or not. It would have different actors every week. But in the form of Things Unknown, he plays a character who can alter time and bring back loved ones, bring back the dead. And unfortunately, he brings back a killer, unbeknownst to him. And it's a really dramatic show. And they re-edited it as a regular episode of The Outer Limits for the season 1 finale. And they retitled it The Form of Things Unknown. And it had a great opening. I won't play it. I always play that in the annual Halloween Podblast. I'll do that again this year. It has a great piece of narration by William Woodson. That's the guy that narrated it, and he wound up narrating The Invaders, and he narrated The Odd Couple. It was the voice of the opening to The Odd Couple, William Woodson. Let me just finish this article, and then I'll play a clip of David McCallum in the Sixth Finger Outer Limits episode. Some great dialogue. It's awesome audio, I think, and the audio quality is really strong in it. So I left off with David McCallum guest starring in American classic TV shows Perry Mason and The Outer Limits just before he began his run on The Man from U.N.C.L.E. McCallum starred in the critically acclaimed BBC Universal television series Colditz, which is spelled cold like Cold War, ITZ. Colditz, like a Ritz cracker. Cold Ritz, Colditz, which ran from 1972 to 1974 and followed the lives of British prisoners held in a castle by the Nazis during World War II. And then around that time, this isn't in the article, this is something out of my head I want to share with you. David McCallum was in a great $6 Million Man TV movie. Before it was a weekly series, there were 90-minute movies. There were 2 90-minute movies and then a 2-hour movie as a movie of the week, and the ratings just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger with each movie. David McCallum played a character in the second $6 Million Man cyborg television movie titled Wine, Women, and War. And also in that cast was Eric Braeden, long before he was Victor on The Young and the Restless, but he played a villain, a British villain in that. And Britt Ekland was in it right before she was in the James Bond movie, the second Roger Moore Bond movie, The Man with the Golden Gun. And she was so pretty in that. And it had a really adult script. Glenn A. Larson, creator of Battlestar Galactica, Knight Rider, BJ and the Bear, and all these TV shows, Elias Smith and Jones. I did a whole 6-hour podblast on Glenn A. Larson. If you want to look it up, it's on the YouTube channel. Hit videos, scroll down. By the way, I would encourage you to do that to find any topic you like. I cover a lot of different nostalgic topics. Just look at the subject line and you might find something you're interested in. Or if you're on a podcast platform, same thing. Apple, just keep loading more and you'll see the Glenn A. Larson show. It's good audio because of the clips, not me. I don't like to hear my own voice. That's why I'm not wearing my headphones. I stopped doing that. It's not, I mean, why should you listen, right? If I don't, I'm just saying, I really don't like to hear my own voice. I'm telling you the truth there. It's the clips. The show is all about the information and the nostalgia and our shared memories. That's what it's all about. But, so that Wine, Women, and War, there was some like really dirty double meaning dialogue. This is a family show and my niece is probably going to tune in and maybe my nephew. So I got to keep this a clean show. I won't even say the line. It's just, there was really some weird stuff that Colonel Steve Austin said to Britt Ekland's character in that, but it's action packed. And, I love that story and the villains die. And There's all sorts of action, and there's a song too by Dusty Springfield. They tried to make it like a James Bond song. It's not very good, but look it up on YouTube if you want. I've played it before on the show. I'll spare you. I won't play it in this edition of the Nostalgic Podblast. I'll spare your ears because it's not very good. It goes, he's the man, $6 million man. He's the man. He's the man. I'm off key again. Oh, well. I got to have a sip. Hang on a second, folks. Oh, man. It's kryptonite! No, it's Mountain Dew. I haven't had Mountain Dew in years. They were out of my regular drink, so I got Mountain Dew. That's why I'm wired. I think there's more caffeine in Mountain Dew than in any soft drink, or is it Sunkist? I think that Sunkist is the only orange soda has caffeine. Fanta Orange doesn't have caffeine in it. I think it's Sunkist that has the most, but woo, Mountain Dew's up there. But I quit drinking it because they say Yellow 5 isn't good for guys, if you know what I'm saying. Family show. That's why I quit drinking it years ago, but for some reason I'm drinking it now. Kryptonite. Oh God. Kryptonite for your wee wee. Anyway, let me see here. Where was I? Oh yeah, because I want to tell you about the $6 Million Man, Why Women in War. Well, in 1975, mid-70s, David McCallum starred in the NBC hour-long sci-fi drama The Invisible Man, but that only lasted for a single season. Not true, article. It only lasted 13 episodes. Less than a season. It got axed in the middle of its only season. And so David McCallum also starred in the critically hailed miniseries adaptation of Robert Louis Stevenson's Kidnapped for Britain's ITV, and starred opposite Joanna Lumley in the ITV sci-fi series titled Sapphire and Steel, which ran for 6 seasons beginning in 1979. David McCallum reunited with his former Man from U.N.C.L.E. co-star Robert Vaughn, who at that point in time was a series regular on the last season of NBC's The A-Team, for an episode of The A-Team called The Say Uncle Affair in 1986. David McCallum guested, I hate that word that this writer uses, guested on the Father Dowling Mysteries, Murder, She Wrote, Sequest 2032, Babylon 5, Law and Order, and even Sex and the City. And the actor had a small role in the charming British-Irish film titled Hear My Song from 1991. And on the BBC, during this time, he was a series regular on Trainer. In the U.S., he recurred as Fox's ahead of its time cyber thriller VR5, starring Laurie Singer from Footloose with Kevin Bacon. In 1995 to 1997, he was in VR5. And then on Richard Dreyfuss's vehicle titled The Education of Max Bickford in 2001. What a bad writer. When he guested on Jack, and you should keep saying his name. He just says he, and so I'm adding the name in case you're tuning in late. We're talking about David McCallum, who sadly passed away back on September 25th, 2023. Great character actor. But when David McCallum guested on Jag in 2003 at the age of 70, in the backdoor pilot for NCIS, McCallum had no idea that he was about to fill his dance card for the next decade plus of acting on that show. At the height of his fame in the 1960s, we're at the final stretch of this article, folks. And we'll get to some clips so I can rest my throat there and rest your help. You can get over my terrible voice too. At the height of his fame in the 1960s, McCallum recorded 4 albums for Capitol Records. I did not know that. These were not opportunities for him to sing. Instead, the classically trained musician conceived a blend of a Bowie, a British, which is an English horn, and strings with guitar and drums, presenting instrumental interpretations of current hits. Had to have been better than William Shatner, especially, doesn't sound like he was singing. It was just instrumental. But Shatner singing, that is bizarre, to say the least. Mr. Tambourine Man! Look up the Transform Man record, 1968 on YouTube. I think someone uploaded the whole thing. It's astonishing. I have it on compact disc. Incredible. Though someone else was officially credited as the arranger on those albums, David McCallum conducted some of the music and contributed several original compositions. In 2016, David McCallum's mystery novel titled Once a Crooked Man was published. McCallum was twice married. The first time to actress Jill Ireland. I got to stop and talk about Jill Ireland. She later married Charles Bronson and acted with him in movies like Invasion USA. And she was in a classic Star Trek for the Trekkers out there titled This Side of Paradise. She was the girl that Spock was in love with, that he'd work with, a fellow scientist, and he gets infected by the spores. And so Spock can like fall in love and abandon all the Vulcan rules and regulations and all that crap. And he had the gall to make love to that girl, as Captain Kirk said to him, trying to get under his skin and shake off the influence of the spores and start a fight. He even calls him a half-breed in that scene. Can you believe that? Captain Kirk, and it worked. The character got under Spock's skin all right and almost got killed in the process because Vulcans have not 5 times human strength. They're stronger than humans, and they age slower. Anyway, and they have green blood, and their organs are in different parts of their body versus the human anatomy. Anyway, Jill Ireland, and she sadly passed away of breast cancer, and she was in the first episode of The Man from U.N.C.L.E. with her husband. Anyway, but his second wife, David McCallum, is survived by his second wife, his wife of 56 years, Catherine McCallum. David McCallum's also survived by his sons, Paul, Valentine, and Peter, and his daughter, Sophie, and his 8 grandchildren. See, I thought he had 4 sons and 1 daughter. I think this article made a mistake. Let me just quickly divert from what I prepared, and let me just confirm that, because I could have sworn. Let me just see something here. I want to call BS on this article. How do these people get writing jobs when there's people like me that could do such a better job? I think no hubris intended. Let's see here. Guested. He guessed it. That guy used that term at least 5 times in that article. He guessed it. What a stupid expression. Hang on. Got it right here. Going to Wikipedia right now. It says children 5, but of course Wikipedia is always flawed with mistakes because anyone can add to it. Okay. 5 children, including Val McCallum. I don't remember a Val listed in that article. Hang on a second, folks. Let me just get to the personal life aspect. See if it mentions the names of the kids. Here we go. In 1967, McCallum married Catherine Carpenter. They had a son, Peter, and a daughter, Sophie. McCallum and his wife were active in charitable organizations that support the United States Marine Corps. Cool. Because Catherine's father was a Marine who served in the Battle of Iwo Jima, and her brother was killed in the Vietnam War. Wow. Glad I didn't have that in my notes. That's an interesting piece of trivia. Wow. And McCallum sadly died at the New York Presbyterian Hospital on September 25th, 2023 of natural causes. Well, all right, so Val... I want to get this right. Well, Valentine. I did mention Valentine. Okay. Stupid me. Well, I'm just going to read this verbatim. It's the very end of the article, finally. And it says he is survived by sons Paul, Valentine, Peter, and his daughter Sophie, and his 8 grandchildren, Julia, Lucia, Ian, Stella, Gavin, George, Alessandro, and Whit. Donations may be made to the Marine Corps Scholarship Foundation, which you can Google and look up if you want to give. Now let's play a few clips. I want to play this incredible audio, I think, of great moments from the Outer Limits episode, The Sixth Finger. And when the scientist realizes he made a terrible mistake in choosing David McCallum's character for his experiment, he realizes, oh my God, this guy is just misusing his power. He learns he has ESP and he can do things the future man can do that at the time 20th century man could not. Of course, we're in the 21st century now as we're live. But, and he refuses to go back. So the scientist wants to put David McCallum in the chamber and reverse the process to turn him back to his normal self. And I love this line you hear in this clip. He's like, would you go back to being an ape, Professor? And another thing that he can do with his mental powers, he can stop someone's heart. He kills a woman, stops her heart, and he also can freeze people. He can immobilize them by like freezing their central nervous system. I'm adding that. I mean, it's not explained, but he stops the scientist from churning the dial, freezes them. So I guess I'm assuming it's not real. Act like it's friggin' real, but let's just pretend that he stopped the central nervous system. Not a medical man. Don't know if that would do it or not, but it sounds good. So let's listen to a little bit of The Outer Limits. This is a few minutes long. The clip is 5 minutes, 32 minutes, but I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'll play a little more than I did on YouTube Live last night. Let's listen.
You're praying that your experiment may be a blessing and not a curse on mankind. Now you're hoping you may be forgiven for what you did only a few years ago. It's this sense of guilt that's made you bury yourself down here.
How do you know that? Your heightened forehead indicates more currents in your neuronic synapses required for greater intelligence and telepathic function. Your eyes have developed a wider field of vision and a power of charged concentration.
Afraid you maybe gave power to the wrong man.
What makes you say that?
You should have realized by now, Professor Mathers, that I can read your mind. I no longer have any need for sleep.
How is it possible?
Must the pupil explain to the teacher? It's really quite simple. You release the mechanism of evolution, which is a self-generating force. It is now mutating under its own impetus. I am now where man will be approximately 1 million years from today.
Why are you laughing?
I am laughing at what is in your mind, Professor. You think that I've become a monster. Need I remind you that everything is relative? For me, you look as monstrous as the missing link.
We'll stop this self-generating process before it's too late. We must return to the chamber immediately and set the dial backward somewhere nearer to man.
Freezes
willing
him.
to go back to an ape, Professor? Wait. No. Please.
Here's where he kills the woman. She's like a maid or something.
Was it an accident?
Your race is too prejudiced to tolerate any differences from its own kind. She saw me only as a monster, and it was in her mind to run to the village and arouse its inhabitants. They would come with their primitive weapons to obliterate me. I wanted to stop her, and I stopped her heart.
Man.
You feel no remorse.
Or would it bring her back? Are you still not afraid of me?
Here's Jill Haworth. She sees
Your town must be utterly destroyed.
how he looks like a monster, like you see on the camera. Anyone that's watching on the Nostalgic Podblast YouTube channel or Facebook Live group.
An example must be made.
Stand back.
The scientist holds a gun on him, and he uses his mind to somehow, with kinetic energy, like, have the gun fly out of his hand.
Your ignorance makes me ill and angry.
I know the feeling.
I was going to destroy everyone. And suddenly, it no longer mattered. I evolved beyond hatred or revenge, or even the desire for power. I could feel myself reaching that stage in the dim future of mankind when the mind will cast off the hamperings of the flesh and become all thought and no matter. A vortex of pure intelligence in space. It is the goal of evolution. Man's final destiny is to become what he imagined in the beginning, when he first learned the idea of the angels. Will you help me to go forward? I shall return to that chamber. You must turn this dial to its furthest limit, all the way into the future, into infinity. Won't you help me now to achieve the ultimate? Come, Kathy. Now must I break the last barrier between the flesh and the spirit. Goodbye, Kathy.
Keep flavoring
Oh,
back.
shoot. So, yeah, there goes an ad. Real good there. I totally... What the hell was that? Took my eye off the ball. She goes, I can't let you go. And reverses it, and he comes back as an ape. And that reminds me, the guy that played him as an ape, or there was actually a primate, a guy in a monkey suit, and he did this a lot. He played Debbie the Bloop, like large size, in a season 1 black and white episode of Lost in Space, the 9th episode that aired, titled The Oasis. I always mispronounce his name because he was on Buzzer recently on This Is Your Life, and I always thought it was Janos Prochaska, but it's what was it? It's spelled Janos, last name Prochaska, and it's I think it's Janos or something. I can't remember, but I'm saying it wrong. I'm admitting that right now to you. And but he always played. He was a kind of a stunt man, and he played a lot of the monsters on the Outer Limits, like in the Architects of Fear. I know I'm getting a little technical here, and the average Joe doesn't know what the hell I'm talking about, but that was a great episode with what's his face from The Greatest American Hero. Oh, now I got to look him up. He was in several Outer Limits. Let me look that up. Oh, gosh. He was the FBI agent in The Greatest American Hero. Oh, I can't believe I can't remember. The Greatest American Hero. Always when I look something up, it'll pop back into my mind. I just have David McCallum in my head, and I can't think of anything. Robert Culp. That's it. Robert Culp. He was in The Architects of Fear, where all these scientists transform him. He drew lots, and he unfortunately won. And it was a group of guys that wanted to unite the world by simulating an alien being landing on Earth to unite all the nations of the world against a common enemy. And Janos Prochaska, mispronouncing his name, but that's what I have always known him as. I've been saying it wrong and thinking it wrong all these years. He played the monster that he eventually transforms into. But we're talking about David McCallum and Outer Limits here. And I just love that episode. Let me get back to the topics. Man from U.N.C.L.E., I want to play a little bit of the opening. Actually, the entire opening. It's only a minute and a half to the very first episode of The Man from U.N.C.L.E. And this audio sets the stage of what the show is all about. And I love this opening, and the music was by Jerry Goldsmith. This is really cool. Let's listen.
New York City. On a street in the East 40s, there's an ordinary tailor shop.
Oh.
Or is it ordinary? We entered through the agent's entrance, and we are now in UNCLE headquarters. That's the United Network Command for Law and Enforcement. UNCLE is an organization consisting of agents of all nationalities. It's involved in maintaining political and legal order anywhere in the world.
My name is Napoleon Soto. I'm an enforcement agent in Section 2 here. That's operations and enforcement.
I am Ilya Kuryakin. I am also an enforcement agent. Like my friend Napoleon, I go and I do whatever I am told to by our chief.
Huh? Oh, yes. Alexander Waverly.
God damn it!
Number 1 in Section 1.
Shit.
In charge of this, our New York headquarters. It's from here that I send these young men on their various missions.
Guest stars Jill Ireland and Anne Francis. So, Anne Francis was beautiful. Of course, she was in Forbidden Planet, which had Leslie Nielsen, of all people, and Richard Anderson in the cast, among others, like Walter Pidgeon. But she was Honey West. She passed away, I think, in 2016, but she guest starred in the very first Man from U.N.C.L.E., along with Jill Ireland, David McCallum's wife there. And then there was a hipper version of the theme. Let's just play a couple versions of the color version of the color episodes of The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Pretty cool, I think. Now, some brief history about The Man from U.N.C.L.E., and then we're going to talk about something else. We're going to get to the movie reviews by my 10-year-old niece, Molly. She reviewed 3 summer movies she saw this past summer, 2023, in the theater, and I'm super excited about it. And gosh, I hope a bad word didn't come through the mic. What happened was, one of my visual aids, those that are listening, fell over, and so I cussed, and I apologize if you heard that. I said 2 very bad words. Anyway, family show, right? Let me get back to a little bit of the history of The Man from U.N.C.L.E. from my TV Bible. I'm going to play that music again in the background as I talk briefly about the history of that show. Just some basic facts, really briefly. And then I want to play a clip of David McCallum talking about working with Robert Vaughn on The Man from U.N.C.L.E. The Man from U.N.C.L.E. had 105 episodes over 4 television seasons, and that reunion movie I already talked about, titled The Return of the Man from U.N.C.L.E., the 15 years later affair. The plot of that reunion movie was this, quote, when Thrush steals a nuclear weapon and demands a ransom delivered by Napoleon Solo, Uncle recalls him and his partner Ilya Kuryakin to duty, unquote. And it aired on Tuesday, April 5th, 1983. And then in 1986, they both were reunited again on the A-Team. Already said that. Yes, I'm repeating myself. But let me read a little bit about The Man from U.N.C.L.E. to you from my Bible, my TV Bible. The Man from U.N.C.L.E. debuted on September 22nd, 1964 on NBC, Tuesday night at 8:30. In January 1965, NBC moved the show to Monday nights at 8, and then in the fall of 1965, they moved it to the death time slot, Friday night at 10, which killed Star Trek. Then, when the ratings slid in September 1966, NBC moved the show earlier on Friday night to 8:30. That's a little bit better. I mean, younger folks were going to high school football games on Friday night. They were going to see movies, or going out on dates, going to the pizzeria, the malt shop, whatever. Or, family show. I was going to say necking in a car somewhere. And then in September 1967, NBC moved The Man from U.N.C.L.E. back to Monday night at 8 o'clock. So The Man from U.N.C.L.E. was America's television answer to the very popular James Bond movies. 2 super agents, Napoleon Solo and Ilya Kuryakin, were teamed to fight the international crime syndicate Thrush. U.N.C.L.E., UNCLE, which stood for United Network Command for Law and Enforcement, had its American headquarters in New York City. Running the office was Mr. Waverly, who's like the M of The Man from U.N.C.L.E., the boss. Just like James Bond had a boss M in the 007 movies. And he was kind of like a combination of M and Q. He wasn't that great of a character, sorry. Leo G. Carroll was the actor who played Mr. Alexander Waverly, the boss. And his character's function was to assign agents to cases and coordinate their efforts. The suave, urbane American, Napoleon Solo, and the blonde, introverted Russian Kuryakin spent most of their time saving the world from Thrush. And, as the series wore on, the plots became more and more far-fetched. The pinnacle of silliness was reached in the 1966 to 1967 TV season when The Girl from U.N.C.L.E. was created, starring Stephanie Powers, bringing to television 2 hours of U.N.C.L.E. per week, with plots that were, oh shucks, often silly. I got to get past this ad. I'm messing up bad tonight. With plots that were closer to ABC's Batman than to any sort of believable spy thriller. At the end of the 1966 to 1967 season, the girl from U.N.C.L.E. was dead, and the man from U.N.C.L.E. was dying. A transfusion of reality was tried at the start of the 1967 and 1968 season, with new sets for Uncle's New York offices and stories that were more traditionally suspenseful with danger that no longer seemed as if it had just come out of a comic book page. And whoa, what you got against comic books there? And with a new regular cast member in Mr. Waverly's secretary, Lisa Rogers. So she, again, they're ripping off James Bond a bit with Miss Moneypenny with this character. And Lisa Rogers was played by Barbara Moore. Unfortunately, these changes were too little too late, and the series ended on the evening of January 15th, 1968. To be replaced by the biggest hit of the late 1960s, Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. I'll be danged. Now, really quickly, I want to talk about The Invisible Man. I won't spend a lot of time on that. The other show that David McCallum starred in the 1970s, long before NCIS. And by the way, my TV Bible, don't think I mentioned this. It's the complete directory to primetime network TV shows, 1946 to present. This is the 1988 edition, so after 1988, I'm SOL unless I get a newer edition, written by Tim Brooks and Earl Marsh. Earl spelled E-A-R-L-E. But before I play some brief bits of audio of David McCallum in interviews, I want to talk about The Invisible Man. It started as a 90-minute television movie which aired on May 6th, 1975. And also in the cast was Melinda Fee, who later became a fembot in season 3 of The Bionic Woman, Fembots in Las Vegas, parts 1 and 2. And she had been in Lost in Space as a guest star in a terrible episode, the 5th color episode, Space Circus, from season 2 of that program. And she played like a clairvoyant con woman with a con circus. But where the heck is it? Sorry, kids. The Invisible Man as a regular series debuted on September 8th, 1975, airing Monday nights at 8. And from my TV Bible, The Invisible Man, in an attempt to update the classic H.G. Wells story, this series brought us Dr. Daniel Weston, a scientist who had discovered a means of making any object invisible, including himself. When he found out that the government planned to use this technique for military purposes, he memorized his secret formula, destroyed his equipment, and turned himself invisible to escape. Unfortunately, his method for becoming visible again failed. And it failed to work, and he was temporarily stuck in invisibility mode. Seeking the aid of a scientist friend, he had a wig, highly realistic face mask, and plastic hands made to conceal his invisibility, enabling him to resume a somewhat normal public life. Daniel and his wife Kate then went to work for the KLAE Corporation, where he continued his experiments in order to find his way back. He also undertook an assortment of dangerous security missions for his boss, Walter Carlson, played by Craig Stevens. Whenever the situation got tight, Daniel could take off his mask and clothes and disappear. This did not always prove to be helpful, as it might seem. However, as when he was trapped in the house of a blind man who was extraordinarily sensitive to sound, who was out to kill him. So that's The Invisible Man. My favorite interpretation of that whole concept was not the classic Universal monster horror film, The Invisible Man, but I liked a movie called Hollow Man from the year 2000, starring Kevin Bacon. It was an R-rated thriller, and it was directed by the guy Paul Verhoeven, who directed RoboCop and Showgirls. He's kind of a creepy dude, but because he always shows a woman, I don't want to say the word because kids might be listening or watching. He just always showed a woman being attacked, as he did in Hollow Man. Aside from that, I thought the movie was a heck of a lot of fun, where he basically snaps. You know, it's kind of like Dr. Smith. I always conjectured that Dr. Smith lost his mind, the character, when the Jupiter 2 lifted off and he screams. He goes, "Ah!" I think that's where he snapped. And the same thing happens to Kevin Bacon's character in this movie. The formula makes him snap. It alters his mind. And, you know, he becomes a killer. That was my favorite version of that. And I discovered The Invisible Man on the Sci-Fi Channel. The Sci-Fi Channel launched in September 1992, and they would feature short-lived shows. I love this. The Sci-Fi Channel's series collection, and they played shows like The Magician, starring Bill Bixby, which lasted 1 year, The Invisible Man, Planet of the Apes, the TV show, which only lasted half a season, and The Immortal, a show I really like starring Christopher George, who passed away sadly in 1983 of a heart attack. He was married to Linda Day George, beautiful woman. And he was the star of that show and it lasted 1 year. It started as a TV movie, became a weekly series. And just like the title of the show implies, he was immortal. His character, he had immortal blood. So these rich guys were after him for his blood so they could live forever. And so he was on the run. It had a fugitive element to it, and they released him on DVD. I have the DVDs, and that's a really cool show. The Immortal, which the Sci-Fi Channel featured in their sci-fi series collection. So I guess that's all I have. I do want to play the theme for just a 1 minute clip of The Invisible Man starring David McCallum. And did I mention... Oh, I want to tell you why I think the show failed. It had some pretty stiff ratings competition, being that it was on Monday nights at 8, because on the West Coast, you had Monday Night Football on ABC. On the West Coast, opposite The Invisible Man. And then on the East Coast, ABC had The Barbary Coast, which at the time was a new show starring William Shatner on ABC. It didn't last long on the East Coast. And then this was the worst competition of all, I think, because you didn't have Monday Night Football on the East and West Coast, just the West Coast, but coast to coast, you had the Mary Tyler Moore half-hour spinoffs, Rhoda and Phyllis, back-to-back on CBS, opposite The Invisible Man. That's why it only lasted 13 episodes and failed on NBC. Just a rotten time slot. It's too bad they didn't try another night during the week, not Friday night at 10. Let's listen to a little bit of how the Invisible Man theme sounded, and then we'll have our new feature, Molly's Movie Reviews, in just a sec after this minute clip. Oh, darn it. I do want to play David McCallum. I'll play a little bit of him, and this is a very brief clip of him talking about working with Robert Vaughn that I promised you. But let me get... Yeah, here's the Invisible Man theme song. Yeah, and so on January 19th, 1976, the Invisible Man disappeared from the NBC television schedule. Okay, now let's listen to David McCallum in his own words talking about working with Robert Vaughn. And also, yeah, let me get that. It's right here. Here it is.
Robert is an academic, or was an academic, and he was born on the 22nd of November, the same day that Kennedy was assassinated. But that's just a strange coincidence. He had an obsession that he could be part of the political world. And all the time, most of the time we were working, he was reading books, he was writing things down, he was somewhere else slightly. And he was very open to my suggesting things when we were actually on set. I said, well, in this scene, this is this, this, and this. If you're there, I can throw the knife and you can be there. And he went along with it. A couple of times he said, you're upstaging me here. I said, yes, I'm doing it on purpose. I'm sorry you noticed, But we had a very good working relationship. We were as different as chalk and cheese in our lifestyles. And we went out to dinner, I think, once. He took me to, I believe it was called the Aware Inn, which was on Sunset Boulevard and was a health food store, and I was quite ill afterwards. But we didn't socialize at all. I read a book about something, show business is something where you come in and have these extraordinary relationships that you plug into. And then when the show's over, it's all gone and everybody else goes. And you don't really see anybody anymore. But that was the case with Uncle. It was a terrific working relationship. Only once did he I almost killed him. But Marcel Vercoutère, who was the special effects, had a knife on a wire. And it was a thing where I had a Bowie knife. And he was hanging like this. And I cut the wires by throwing the Bowie knife, which meant that the special effects knife flew across the room, hit the snap blew, he dropped, and the knife would bed itself in the wall. Anyway, my knife, I just drop behind my back and do that. I don't even throw it. He's firing. Special effects is firing it. And the wire broke. And I saw that knife going towards Robert. No wire. And it embedded itself in the wall and missed it and hit it. I don't think he even noticed, He was busy thinking about the Kennedys or whatever.
Thank you, Foundation Interviews, for the use of that great clip. Now, the audio was a little tinny at his end, David McCallum's end. He wasn't using a professional microphone, which is fine. I just want to explain that. Now it's finally time for the debut of a feature that I call Molly's Movie Reviews. And my delightful 10-year-old niece, Molly, saw these 3 summer 2023 movies in the theater. And right now she's going to offer her thoughts from her unique perspective as a younger movie watcher in this debut segment, which is about 10 minutes long. So now, without further ado, here's Molly!
So the story, it was very original.
And she starts with The Little Mermaid. Let's go.
Okay, first I'm going to start with The Little Mermaid movie. So the story, it was very original. They definitely did a new take on the movie, but it was definitely a little bit different. They added a bunch of new songs, new themes and originality. It was just very amazing, and I thought it was, overall, the storyline was great. The actors was amazing. Halle Bailey was she was perfect. I loved the scene where she flipped her hair and then the sunset. Yeah, you wait till you see that scene. It's amazing. I loved the overall vibe of the movie was just amazing, and the music, as I said before, they added new songs, but definitely had that flair that you want when you do a live action movie. And actually, I feel like now as Disney goes on, they're like, okay, we did this with The Little Mermaid, now we're going to do this, as they're coming out with a new Snow White movie and a new Tangled movie as a live action version. So I think the music, songs, everything was just beautiful. And I just thought it was really cool. But there was one song that Eric sang that it didn't really stand out to me. It wasn't my favorite.
What song was that?
I don't know the exact name of the song, though. But it was you guys will see. You'll understand it when you watch the movie. Or if you've already watched the movie, you will understand it. I was very entertained. I was sitting in the theater, eating popcorn like when you go to a movie theater, and it was really fun. It was very entertaining. It had you, sometimes there's obviously in some movies there's some parts where you're like a little bit bored, but like they just kind of drags on a little too long. But overall, I loved Little Mermaid. It was such a great movie.
Okay, and of course, The Little Mermaid is streaming now on Disney Plus. Did you see the Barbie movie this past summer?
I actually did see the Barbie movie with my mom.
Oh, wow, you're a little young to see the Barbie movie. I heard there's some inappropriate stuff in the movie.
Yeah, there's only a few though.
For small children. And you're not, I mean, you're in 5th grade, so you're kind of a big kid. But.
Yeah. I definitely think that there was some parts that were a little risky, but there was nothing that 5th grade people or younger probably don't already know about. Basically exposed to at school and stuff like that. But let's get into the review of the Barbie movie. So the story again, I'm starting with the story again because the line, it was so original, and I heard the Barbie movie was carried on from different movie producers and places. Like it got with the Warner Brothers, I think. So I think it was there, and it was amazing. I think it was perfect. The storyline was beautiful. Again, with all movies, it goes a little, some parts drag on, but that happens with every movies, and I have a short attention span. But story, very original. Definitely loved, like, the dream house looked amazing. The acting, beautiful. Margot Robbie did amazing. And I loved how they had kind of the narrator narrate stuff. Like, it's amazing. I love it. Definitely recommend watching it. Yeah, that's basically all for that one. And the music, oh my gosh, they had so many amazing artists do tracks. And you can hear the tracks now on Spotify and Apple Music, all that stuff. But beautiful tracks. I loved it so much. The music, like, it always got the whole theater into, like, this big vibe, and everybody was just having a good time. I was very entertained. As I mentioned earlier, it does drag on a little bit, but that happens with movies sometimes.
Well, let me ask you this. I've heard from some, and I haven't seen this film. I heard the ending was a bit sad. Is that true? Is there a sad ending without giving anything away?
Yeah, the ending of that movie, it's sad, but, like, you know, it wasn't extremely sad. Like, in the middle, it was a little bit more sad.
So when you left the theater, did you leave feeling good or blue or both?
I felt good because at the end, they really had a song that pumped the whole theater up. So when you left, you were just feeling like having a good time, which I think was a very smart move on their part.
Excellent. Well, there was another movie you saw that I wanted to see. Unfortunately, I got doggone COVID at the end, and it's called at the end of the summer. So the only thing I saw was like Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I didn't see Indiana Jones, and I didn't see this movie, which I really wanted to see, Elementals. Did you see it?
Yes, I did actually see it. I've been seeing so many movies in the movie theater lately. Elemental is such a great movie. It was really good, but there's definitely some weird parts in it as well, which I was surprised because the Barbie movie is PG-13, but it didn't have as many, didn't have as many as Elemental actually did. And Elemental is actually like PG, I think. Don't take my word on that.
That's inconsistent.
I know.
Rating system there.
It's kind of weird. But they had a couple, and the Barbie movie just had a few. Like a little trickle of some. But the story, again, starting with the story, it's very original. Again, it's also like a little, some parts were actually a little sad, actually. Because if you see the trailer, I recommend seeing the trailer. I'm trying not to spoil anything.
I did see it, and it looks sad because it's like a love that can't be, because one element is heat and fire, and the other's water, right? Mm-hmm. I said elementals. It's elemental.
Yeah.
Right.
Elemental. But
singular.
The acting, very good. I do not know who played Amber in the movie, but I think they did an amazing job. She did an amazing job. I'm actually not sure who did. I don't even know who played. I think his name's Wayne, the water guy. Again, don't take my word on that. But they did an amazing job. Really, really good. So, yeah. The music, I don't think they had much music, did they? I think they played some songs in the background in some parts. But I don't know if they had any direct songs, but it was really good. Like, they had some nice songs playing in the background and stuff. Like, when she got angry, they played some more powerful songs, and there's definitely some tones in the background. Definitely entertain. With all movies, they drag on, or it's just I have a very short attention span. But it was very entertaining. It was a really good movie overall. I feel like definitely there were some parts where they can improve on, but I mean, they have a date they have to get the movie out, and they did a really good job. I feel like definitely all the movies that came out this summer were really good and really amazing.
And that too is on Disney Plus right now.
That's Disney Plus. So
and the Barbie movie will probably be on Max. We didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
Eventually, as we're live right now, it's not streaming yet because it's killing it at the box office. The Barbie movie, it's setting records. It's earned over $1 billion worldwide.
It's
I think it's beaten the Avengers Endgame box office, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it's so crazy.
Not to backtrack, but we're talking about Elemental now.
Mm-hmm.
But
so Elemental. I think that's what
so it's not a musical then?
It's not a musical.
I assumed it was a musical.
I don't even think it has much music, but I think it might have a few songs, but nothing that they really sing. Like, the characters don't really sing, because with animated movies, because the Barbie movie and the Little Mermaid movie are obviously not animated, but with animated movies, they don't really have much, like, singing. Like, the princess movies do a little bit more. But then, when you think about, like, the movies, and I've heard Disney is trying to do something where, like, they're trying not to add villains much into their movies anymore, which I think is personally crazy. Because, like, that's the whole fun part of the movie. It's like, oh, what's going to happen next? But now...
Yeah, I mean, going back, when I was your age, I loved The Wizard of Oz. You had the Wicked Witch of the West, and yeah.
I just don't get it.
Okay, well, and any final thoughts? Which of those three did you like the best?
That's hard. I would have to say the Barbie movie. That's just my personal opinion. It's just the whole entire vibe with all the pink. And boys out here, I'm talking to you. I know you're going to think, like, I'm too cool to watch the Barbie movie because I don't like Barbies or stuff like that. But the Barbie movie is actually really entertaining. I believe you can get it for $24 somewhere, like on your TV at home. But I'm not sure anywhere else. But I feel like it's going to be coming out soon. Once the box
it'll be
office
on
is
Max.
down.
Yeah, eventually. By the time people hear this, it'll probably be on Max.
Yeah.
Or close to it. All right. Well, Molly, thank you for your time. Of course, you're my niece. And next year, I hope you can do another summer movie wrap-up.
I hope so.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
So that's Miss Molly and Molly's Movie Reviews. And yes, Barbie is on Max right now. I was mistaken. And it does have a premium, but eventually it'll be free on Max, of course. But it's just doing really well at the box office. I think she's a great communicator. Am I biased? Yes. But even if she weren't my niece, I'd say she really can, she has a way with words and communicating. So, but one thing I want to clarify, I said I had COVID at the end of the summer. I meant to say at the end of June. Whatever, who cares? Let's move on to something else. But I thought Molly did a fantastic job. So thank you, Molly, for that. Item. Let's talk about two movies that we all saw when we were kids, when we were Molly's age. Did you know? I didn't put this together until 2023, and I'm old as dirt. But did you know that both the big screen Superman, the Gen X big screen Superman, and Luke Skywalker were born on the same day, on the same date of September 25th, but a year apart. So happy belated birthday to Mark Hamill and happy heavenly birthday to Christopher Reeve. Just a year apart, but on the same day. And also, sadly, they each had terrible accidents. Mark Hamill had a car crash, a rollover crash, way back on Tuesday, January 11th, 1977, in which he suffered severe facial injuries. And then Chris Reeve had a terrible horse riding accident on Saturday, May 27th, 1995. So unfortunately, they have that in common as well. But about Mark Hamill's accident, Can you imagine? I mean, Star Wars was released on May 25th, 1977 in limited release and then went wide in early June 77. And of course, the rest is history. But can you imagine sustaining that terrible injury? And thank goodness for plastic surgeons. They picked up the pieces very nicely. And I think by Return of the Jedi, he looked a lot like he did in the original film. And, you know, it's been noted by historians that Mark quit 8 is Enough as a series. I think between you and me, I think it's because of his accident. The network recast the role of David Bradford, whom he played in the pilot and first episode of 8 is Enough with Grant Goodeve. I think it's because of his crash. You know, I could be wrong. That's just my opinion. I think it was because of his injuries. They weren't sure how that would play out. But fortunately, thanks to the brilliant plastic surgeons and the man upstairs, that, you know, he recovered. But I want to talk about Christopher Reeve. That's why in the background, if you're listening, I have all these Superman the movie items, and I have other items as well besides what I have on camera. But there's quite a bit of things like the Pepsi Superman the movie glasses, magazine covers, the soundtrack album. There's a great gatefold double truck picture of Christopher Reeve flying through the heavens in the background. A lunchbox that Daniel Cochran gave me when we were at Fistful of Radio Studios a couple years ago, with the thermos, I might add. Pretty cool. Tom Williams has that as well. I've seen in his house. He's moving, but at his former home, he had that. And anyway, there's also, and more importantly, I have an autograph of Christopher Reeve himself. He signed that for me in May of 1994 on a Saturday. We'll talk about that later, and I'll show that closer for the camera. I did feature it last night in YouTube Live. I was talking about the death of David McCallum and honoring Christopher Reeve on his heavenly birthday of September 25th. And the Blu-ray, I don't want to get ahead of myself, and there's Topps cards, a sealed box of Superman the movie Topps cards, Series 1. And I'll show you some of these cards in just a moment. But I've got some awesome audio of Good Morning America from the premiere of Superman the movie. Before the country saw it, there was a private premiere in Washington, D.C. on December 11th, 1978. And I have some great audio, David Hartman talking to Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder and Gene Hackman. This is really good stuff. But happy heavenly belated birthday to actor Christopher Reeve, who was born on Thursday, September 25th, 1952 in New York, New York. In 2023, after September 25th, he would have been 71 years old. Sadly, Chris Reeve passed away back on Sunday, October 10th, 2004, at the age of 52. Chris Reeve's non-smoker second wife, Dana Reeve, also passed away from lung cancer of all things on Monday, March 6th, 2006. Which was weird because she never smoked reportedly, but she was a nightclub singer and she performed in places where smoking was permitted. So it could have been secondhand smoke. The terrible thing is someone can suffer from the affliction of lung cancer without having smoked a day in their life. Anyway, awful. Now both are survived, Dana Reeve and Chris Reeve, by their son Will Reeve, who was born on Sunday, June 7th, 1992. And both Christopher Reeve and son Will Reeve were 6 feet 4 inches tall. And Will is 6 feet 4 inches tall. Now, Christopher Reeve obviously is best known to moviegoers for starring as Kal-El from the planet Krypton in 4 Superman movies between the years 1978 and 1987, in terms of years of release. And he also was in the 1980 cult classic film Somewhere in Time that many people love. A lot of women like that movie. It's a great time travel romantic feature film directed by Janat Schwartz, who directed Supergirl, which was released in 1984, filmed in 1983 over in England. This coming December 15th, 2023 will mark the 45th anniversary of the release of Superman the movie in the USA in wide release after that premiere in Washington, D.C. in 1978. Speaking of, let's listen to a little bit of the coverage of that premiere on Good Morning America, and this is really nice, clear audio. Let me find it, and I'll show some collectibles while it's playing for the viewers in the Nostalgic Podblast YouTube channel or on Facebook Live in the Facebook group, The Nostalgic Podblast. Let me get this for you now. David Hartman.
Did you ever hear the story about the Sunday school
Okay.
teacher who was
I've got to fast forward to right here. And I'll show some collectibles. I know I'm repeating myself. You know, people have complained, you're repeating yourself. I know.
Right now, last night was the world premiere of the movie Superman, benefiting the Joseph P. Kennedy Jr. Foundation's International Special Olympics. Great cause. The movie opened with a tremendous ceremony in Washington. Pat Collins was there, and here's a report.
David, it's the dream of every movie producer to have a Washington premiere. Not only do you get the movie stars, you get the political stars as well. And for the Superman opening, even the President of the United States is here. First Lady Rosalind Carter was a key supporter of tonight's event, along with members of the Kennedy family, numerous political figures, and star athletes. Marlon Brando, who plays Superman's father in the movie, could not make it tonight, but I talked to lots of others who did.
Big surprise. Who's a
Of course,
recluse?
the big man of the evening, and I do mean big, is the new Superman, Christopher Reeve. Chris, you look a lot different from when I saw you a year ago, July. What did you do to yourself?
Well, when I was hired for this part, I looked like an asparagus, and, you know, we had to change. I simply put a poster up. Well, I don't know. It wasn't this guy, but it was the Superman you see in the comic books. And I said, right, I've got to look like that. And I went to the gym, and I worked with a very, very good coach, and I put on about 30 pounds of muscle weight in about 10 weeks.
Steve, you're here to see Superman tonight, too. Would you like to have had that role?
Well, I don't think I'm tall enough, for one thing. I think Superman's got to be about 6'3". Again, it's a movie that everybody is anxiously awaiting, because I think what it'll do is it'll be a rebirth of excitement in this country about something that's really been a part of Americana, and that's Superman. I think, in just reading comic books and stories and the old TV series, which my kids watch now in Los Angeles, again, there's a hero. And we need heroes. And so what if he's faster than a speeding bullet or more stronger than a locomotive? He's a hero, and I think this country needs heroes.
Margot Kidder, you played that legendary newspaper woman, Lois Lane. When the two of you were flying around New York and you're falling in love with him, was it hard to do that and to look right?
Really tough. 3 months almost in some of the most physically difficult and uncomfortable positions two people have ever been put in, strapped together. At one point we had a big argument, and we were strapped together 40 feet above the ground on a pole, and we couldn't get away from each other. We started squibbling and squabbling like two little brats. And we were supposed to be in love, and then they go, and then they go, action, and we go, and then we cut. We couldn't get away from each other.
Now, I, as well as other viewers, were promised more than just a romance.
That's Superman, too.
Gene is the bad guy in this movie. Is it true that the villains have all the fun?
I think it probably should be true. I don't know if it's really true or not. I never thought of myself as a villain in this film. You know, maybe that's the actor's way of trying to be sympathetic.
You're going to be very surprised when you see the movie. You are definitely the villain.
Really?
Yes.
Son of a gun.
Yes.
Missed again. I wanted to be lovable, you know, and so I could get more work. But maybe that's not going to work out.
Well, you're
you may be right.
Funny villain. Maybe not lovable, but funny.
Okay. Whatever. I thought I'd get a lot of, you know, romantic work out of this film. That's really why I took it, to meet girls.
Richard Donner, you are the director of Superman, and I thought it was great fun to watch. But I would imagine that behind the scenes there were some problems, yes?
Endless.
Endless problems.
I mean, from the day I said yes to the day I got off the airplane, I got on the wrong plane. No, I mean, it was total problems. Total. I mean...
Give me an example.
Well, I mean, the example is just from day one. I mean, you take a picture and it says the guy flies from here to there. Sure, okay, let's shoot it. Action. Hey, wait a minute, the guy doesn't fly. How do you make somebody fly from here to there? And to make him fly realistically. We worked for 8 months before I accepted what I called a flying unit shot. 8 months. And, I mean, the problems were endless because there really were no answers. I was surrounded by total geniuses, I mean, but Even they had no answers. So we just improvised, recreated. I don't know. I wish, I hope, I believe. I think it's super. I love it. It's silly. It's warm. It's wonderful. It's everything I always wanted it to be. And it's made for kids, and I'm the biggest kid of them all. So it just seems to be good. Seems to be good.
It's a gala celebration here in Washington for the Superman opening. And now back to you, David, our Superman in New York.
Oh, right, Pat. Thanks. 13 minutes of Christopher Reeve, the star of Superman, is in our Washington studio right now, and we'll talk with him after these words from Montreal.
When dry ice. One moment. I'm going to play a little bit of Christopher Reeve talking with David Hartman after the premiere in Washington, D.C. of Superman. Trying to get past a 1978 commercial. Here we go.
No tape to tangle, and it doesn't take two people to use it. The Run Corona Measure.
At Walgreens, Woolworth, Wilco, Osco, Goblatz, and Ward's.
10 minutes up right now. If you've just joined us, we've been talking with some of the stars of the new movie Superman, which had its premiere last night at the Kennedy Center in Washington. Christopher Reeve is a young actor. He plays the dual role of Clark Kent, who, as you know, changes himself into Superman. And he is with us this morning as Chris Reeve in our studio in Washington. Good morning, Chris. Nice to have you with us this morning.
Good morning, David.
How did it feel to be part of that, all the glitter and gleam and the president and all that business last night in Washington?
I'm surprised I'm still walking and talking after all that last night. I mean, let alone fly. It was amazing. In this weekend that we've been here, Washington has rolled out the carpet for us in a way I just can't believe. We first had an incredible party at the Shrivers on Friday night, and then we did it again at the Japanese Embassy on Saturday, and all these athletes coming from all over the world. I mean, Schwarzenegger was here, and Steve Garvey, and Ron Guidry. I mean, it's just been incredible, and last night was the topper. I mean, it's so crazy. And I just sat back and said, listen, this is the time of my life.
Chris, already, the movie hasn't even opened across the country, and it's going to run here tonight in New York, as you know, and I'll be here tonight to see it. There's been tremendous publicity and attention paid to the movie and to you already. Mm-hmm. Are you feeling like a star?
No, not yet. As a matter of fact, I've only been a star for 2 days, so I really don't know much about it. I'll tell you more in a year. You know.
Well, you know, what's going to happen, possibly, if the movie's a success, and I don't see how it can be anything but, you may need bodyguards and helpers and all that kind of thing to get from a hotel room to a car and all that kind of stardom. What does that mean to you? Do you look forward to the possibility of that, or how do you feel about it?
Well, I think I must be living in dreamland, because that's the one aspect of it I just haven't thought about yet. I sort of have dropped a mental blank. You know, I deal with, okay, I'm working with Marlon Brando, fine, he's Marlon Brando, but he's not Marlon Brando, he's my father. You know, one by one you make these adjustments, but whether people want to come and see me get off a plane and get in a car and drive away, I haven't dealt with that yet.
You just mentioned Brando. Is it true that he gave you some advice when you were working together on the movie?
Yeah. Listen, Brando was absolutely superb. He showed up the first day of work, and he solved a lot of my problems. He came right over to me and introduced himself and said, I'm looking forward to working with you. I went back to my dressing room, and there was a basket of champagne and caviar from Fortnum & Mason's, and a handwritten note saying, I wish you good luck now and in the rest of your career. I said, listen, I got two pieces of advice. First of all, it's your picture, which I thought was very nice coming from someone who's got top billing. And he also said, don't kill yourself doing the stunts. Don't be a hero. And I said, what do you mean? I just got hired to play a hero. He said, listen, once upon a time, I was doing Viva Zapata in Mexico, and I was feeling pretty good about myself. You know, I just done On the Waterfront, et cetera, et cetera. And it was called for me to ride a bucking bronco. And I said, okay, bring on the bucking bronco. And they did, put Brando on the horse. 2 seconds and he's on his head, and absolute wipeout. He gets up and shakes off the bruises, and he says, okay, bring on the other horse. And the other horse was a sawhorse put between two planks on a truck, and he just sat there and went like that, and that was being on a horse. So.
Unfortunate. Stop the tape, stop the tape. That's a very unfortunate analogy. God, that's spooky. Very spooky what he's talking about there in 78 compared to what happened to him in 1995, about a year after I met him. I just want to stop and talk about, I'm showing Topps cards, and when I was a kid, my dentist would give out these cards instead of candy, and that's the first time I saw these cards, and I had an interest in collecting them because they had scenes that were not in the finished film, such as a scene where Lex Luthor attempts to destroy Superman with fire, bullets, and ice. with a trap, and it's called the Gauntlet scene, which was restored in the special edition of Superman the movie from 2001, I think it was, for DVD release. But if you look on camera, for the listener, I'm just pointing to a picture of Chris Reeve as Superman being frozen. This is before The Empire Strikes Back, where Han Solo is frozen, and then the fire and the bullets. Now, in 1982, ABC aired as a 2-night event Superman the movie on their network with additional scenes. So finally, as an 11-year-old, I finally saw these lost scenes, and there was also lost music on the soundtrack. We'll talk about this in the 45th anniversary of Superman the movie this December. When I do a podblast about that, I'll play some examples. But the soundtrack record, which is on camera behind me, there's the gatefold. It's a double album soundtrack, just like Grease was, Grease the movie. It had musical tracks by John Williams that were not used in the film. And what really irritated me was that in the destruction of Krypton scenes, there was great dramatic music scored by John Williams that was not used. The film editor muted the music, so you just heard the sound effects in the scene and not the dramatic music, and it's so much better with it. Well, the good news is, in 2017, Warner Brothers released a 3-hour, 8-minute version of Superman the movie that not only had these scenes and the music restored, but it was in widescreen for the first time. You could see these bonus scenes in widescreen. I'm a film geek, so that really got me excited. And that's the only version of the film I'll ever watch, is this version on Blu-ray. And it's the version that says the 3-hour-long TV version, Superman the movie extended cut. And it's really inexpensive on Amazon, last time I checked. And I don't know if you have an Xbox or something that will play a Blu-ray player. Man, I encourage you to get one. They're very inexpensive because I don't trust the streaming gods. The streaming gods giveth and they taketh away. I've said it many times on the show. Streaming is like a shell game. Look what happened to Friends. It was on Netflix, and then it went to Peacock, NBC, Comcast Universal streaming service. And that really upset a lot of people that had cut the cord trying to save money, and then they have to add another monthly bill to get Peacock to see Friends and The Office and all the NBC properties that they own that are just wildly popular. Let me put on camera that Blu-ray. You can see it better. There it is. And, I mean, this is not junk. The last time I saw that was maybe 4 years ago at Al Hardy's home cinema, and it looked great. It was like being at a movie theater. He's got a great setup, and there's action sequences like the one I told you about, Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor's lair. Not only that, there's scenes with Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando demanded more money, reportedly, after the success of Superman the movie, because he'd filmed over 14 days for over $1 million scenes for Superman the movie and Superman 2, including scenes with Chris Reeve, where he takes his powers away and restores his powers after he's beaten up in a diner, Don's Diner, for Richard Donner, the director of Superman the movie and most of Superman 2. That was exciting, but I'll talk about that in a minute. The Donner cut of Superman 2, which was released in 2006 on DVD. And I'm holding up for the viewers the Blu-ray combo Blu-ray set that has that. Now, the theatrical cuts were released by Warner Brothers in 2023 in 4K, but they didn't release the extended versions. That's what I'm interested in as a collector. That's just me. I want to see everything. And let's see here. What else did I have? I want to talk about meeting him, and I'll resume the interview with Chris Reeve. I haven't forgotten, from December 1978, December 11th, 1978, in Good Morning America. But I held this up briefly before the camera. At the Castlegate Hotel in the Atlanta, Georgia area, which was demolished, sadly. It was a very nice hotel. But when I met Chris Reeve, the air conditioning wasn't working. It was hot. He was there for one day only. I'll show you the program for that convention right here, announcing Christopher Reeve and Noelle Neal, who was Lois Lane in the television show The Adventures of Superman, starring George Reeves. Quick anecdote about George Reeves and Adam West. They were both out of shape. I mean, I love both of them, don't get me wrong. But for those that say that George Reeves was my Superman, he was flabby. He had a beer gut. Great actor, very commanding actor and commanding presence. But he was out of shape. And then Adam West having all that fat hanging over his utility belt, that was a disgrace. I like Adam West. Now, I met him a couple times, but one time in 2008, and I'm not trying to disparage him because he's a legend. But it was really sad. I went to, with my buddy Hunter, a Dukes of Hazzard cast reunion. All the surviving members of Dukes of Hazzard were at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Ben Jones, a scooter, who has since gone into politics at the time. They were all there. And Adam West was there for some reason. And nobody was paying him any attention. He was just sitting there by his lonesome at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And he was asking, I won't mention the figure, a ridiculous amount of money for an autograph. And there were no buyers, no takers. And I thought it was sad. I talked to him, and, you know, fortunately he talked back. A lot of these celebrities, like Mickey Rooney, for instance, I saw it firsthand. If you're not buying, get out of his face. Just go, unless you're buying. But that wasn't the case with Adam West, thankfully. But I'm sorry. He was out of shape. But look at the autograph that Chris Reeve signed for me. This was on May 14th, 1994. I'll never forget it. And I asked him a question that made it in the newspaper, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution at the time. And I knew the answer to this, but I just want to see what he'd say. I said, is it true you were paid $1 million to star in the first Superman movie? And Chris Reeve says, no. Oh, no. And I have this on video. I shot a videotape. I have it in my collection with the camcorder. He goes, no. It was shameless. It was shameful. It was shameful how little they paid me. They gave me box lunch and bus fare. And anyway, they quoted me, big whoop, in the paper asking him that. But he and Dana Reeve, who also was there, were so kind, very gracious. They spent more time than they needed to with fans. And they really seemed to care about their fans. So he signed that for me, and I'll always treasure that personalized autograph. So I'm going to play a little more of Chris Reeve right now on Good Morning America on ABC. There's not much more to it, this interview, but I love this.
Did you take
so much for stunts?
Chris, did you take his advice, though, when you were doing stunts?
No, I was too far into it by then. I was really pretty gung-ho, and I couldn't wait to fly. It's in my blood. I love it.
Did you get hurt at all, or were you injured in any way?
No, we had a couple of stuntmen drop by the wayside, I'm afraid to say. Not seriously injured. In fact, we were on the picture so long that one stuntman fell off a rig onto his head and was out with a skull fracture and a collarbone. Went to the hospital, recuperated for 6 weeks, went to Greece to do another picture, and came back, and we were still working together. So, you know, it was old home week the day he came back.
That's a long shooting schedule.
That's a long shoot, yeah.
Has your lifestyle changed at all since you started the movie?
No, not so far. I live sort of an alternate life. I mean, half the week you go by limousine to a Warner Brothers function. The other half I drive a $400 1970 Pinto with 90,000 miles on it. So I live this kind of strange life. I mean, my house is a fourth floor walk up in a brownstone, and if the heat works, I think it's terrific. You know, otherwise you go first class, and the president's there at the premiere. So this is a very strange experience for me.
And you're enjoying it, though, aren't you? It's fun.
Are you kidding? Fantastic.
What kind of character is Superman? Is he like he was in the comic books and like he was on television character?
Well, we all know that Superman can leap tall buildings. Right. But the question is, can he leap the generation gap? And we were interested to take a man who you've seen in the 50s, particularly. That was the last incarnation from George Reeves. And to take that 50s era and while preserving the basic mythology, is move it up to today. So that now, for example, Lois is not a perky lady who really wants to get married and live in the suburbs. She's a bright, brainy lady who wants to be the best reporter in the business and is single, and she likes it that way. She says, hey, listen, I've seen how the other half lives. 2 cats, 3 dogs, and a mortgage. I go crazy in a week. So these are real
Bananas.
people, larger than life, against a big background, but nevertheless recognizably modern 70s people.
You were a working actor here in New York and doing some television, working off Broadway before you started, but you were not, you know, on your way to stardom by any means.
Right,
Have you, with all due respect.
Okay, you play baseball, so.
Not very well. I still can't hit a curveball. But has it occurred to you the talk about paying your dues before you really make it big? Are you concerned at all about that, that maybe you haven't worked long enough or hard enough or something?
Yeah, I keep talking about this 10 years of training that I've had, but it's basically an apprenticeship. I mean, I've been in the theater since I was a kid. I've worked on Broadway with Katharine Hepburn, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, I feel a responsibility to all those people who tried out for the part and didn't get it. I'd like for them to be happy and say, he did all right, you know? And I'm no smarter today or better or more talented or anything. I'm just more conspicuous. And I think as long as I keep that in mind, that's, you know, that's how to get through it.
Right. George Reeves, not to be maudlin about it, but committed suicide, as you know. And some people, acquaintances, friends of his, attributed that to the fact that he was typecast as Superman from television and could never find any work doing anything else.
Yeah.
Are you worried about being typecast as Superman?
No, listen, I'm very gratified already. The offers that are coming in range. I mean, they're so far against type that I'm delighted. And the studios are being very, very generous to me in terms of asking me about projects that I want to do. But I think now the old studio days are over, and if they think you can do one part, they offer you another. So I'm Superman until my next job.
Chris, congratulations. Good luck with the movie. I hope to meet you in person one day soon, and not long distance like this between Washington and New York.
Okay, I'll drill a hole through the ceiling and fly it to your studio. There he goes. Thanks, David.
Thanks, Chris, very much. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes after these words from Cotton Incorporated. It's 4 minutes over right now.
Pretty cool. A legend was born in December 1978. That's my Superman right there. I have a box of the Topps cards of Superman the movie, Series 1. Talked about that. I'll hold it up. I want to show for the viewers. I'll open it up. You can see all the packs with the wax covering around the packs with the old gum. Can you imagine how bad the bubble gum tastes? Hell, it tasted bad when it was new. Tasted like cardboard. But I have that for you I want to show, and I just love that picture of Chris Reeve in front of the American flag. I'll hold that up later. I got another interview with Chris Reeve from CNN in 1981 when he was on the press junket for Superman 2, which premiered around the world in 1980, but it didn't hit American cinemas until 1981 because they wanted Warner Brothers and the producers, the Salkinds, to have a summer premiere. And Richard Donner had been fired because he was taking too much time and spending too much money, reportedly, on the sequel and the first movie, which he was shooting simultaneously at Pinewood Studios in England and around the world. And so Richard Lester came in as the director of Superman 2. He'd worked on the first picture as well, and he reshot a lot of scenes. I don't want to rehash that, but I recommend some really good reading here is The Making of Superman the Movie, the novel, and it's by David Michael Petrow. I'm probably mispronouncing his last name. He had a little role in the movie, a speaking part in the scenes in the first movie at Smallville High at the football game. He's like, Clark, I need these uniforms washed and pressed or whatever he says. I forget the line. I should know it. I've seen it, the movie dozens of times. But he was the short guy that approaches Clark Kent, played by Jeff East, in those early scenes in the movie. And Clark's like, yes, sir. That was the guy. He wrote the book, The Making of, and there's nice photographs in there, and I learned a lot from reading that book. And this was all before the internet. You know, before the internet, all we had was Starlog magazine, People magazine to talk about new movies. And so that's a bit of a blast from the past. Let me hold up a wonderful cover, Starlog magazine, issue 20. Superman has arrived. I just love that cover. Hopefully it's in the shot. Let me look at my monitor here. Yeah, that's an awesome cover. And that was a great magazine if you're into science fiction. So was Fangoria on the horror side. And it was the same publisher, Carrie O'Quinn, who published both of those magazines, Starlog and later Fangoria. I was a big reader. I liked Omni magazine by Bob Guccione, who also published Penthouse. This is the thumbnail image of tonight's show. People magazine cover with Chris Reeve. And you see Chris Reeve as Clark Kent and the Man of Steel. And here's the Mad Magazine parody, where Alfred E. Newman has a barf bag. That's a reference to the Can You Read My Mind sequence of the first film, which was, by some accounts, corny. But Margot Kidder read the poetry, if you will. But the John Williams music was pretty nice and lovely in that scene. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and put on the 1981 CNN interview with Chris Reeve as I show some more Superman collectibles. And then we have some other nostalgic features, the nostalgic treat of the week, my fake rant of the week, and all the rest. The music video of the week and all that other good stuff. So let me get the Chris Reeve interview for you right now. This is rare as heck.
Superman showed up at the campus of UCLA in Westwood here in Los Angeles today in the person of Christopher Reeve, and before he talked to the students at that college, I talked to him.
General, would you care to step outside?
Superman.
Well, in a few minutes you go downstairs and you speak to the group here at UCLA. What about?
I hope I don't get eaten alive. I mean, it's funny, to go in front of a group of students is very exciting and a little scary at the same time because, I mean, I was just a student myself, you know. I graduated from college 7 years ago. And it's tricky to know what the relationship really is, you know. And I guess what I'm going to talk about is the transition from, particularly for theater arts students, like, you know, being a student actor to how you go out and cut it in the real world, so to speak.
Well, as you know, Chris, for most of them, if they are theater arts students, whatever success they will attain in their careers won't come quite as quickly as yours.
Well, see, that's why I say it's difficult. You know, when I say, well, you know, here's how to become a major star in 5 years. You know, it's like, you know, when I come out like I made it and that I'm anybody special. It's difficult. It's difficult. You know, I have an easier time when I talk to small groups of 3-year-olds, you know, because they just look up and go, like that.
Where's your cape, right?
Right, they don't care. You don't need a cape, you know. Margot Kidder, who plays Lois Lane, had a birthday party one time for her little daughter Maggie while we were shooting Superman. And all the kids were promised that Superman was going to show up, so I come in wearing T-shirt and blue jeans, right? And you would think that this would freak them all out. I just told, no, it's Saturday and the cape's at the wash. So they still thought I was Superman. Somebody threw a Frisbee across the room, and it went right over the top of the fence into the next yard. And damn, if I had to wait till the kids weren't looking, and then climb over the fence and get the
Haltingly, right?
Yeah. Excuse me, the kids are just...
Not in a single bound.
They don't care.
Do you think you may have the same problem in years to come as Sean Connery claims he's had trying to shake the James Bond image? I don't know how many James Bond movies he made, but it's certainly not as many as most people think.
Listen, I would love to have Sean Connery's problem, because he's one of the world's best actors. He's made more films than you can shake a stick at, and he's a terrific guy respected by the entire community. So if that's typecasting, I'd love it.
How many more Superman movies will there be, though?
I don't know. Could go on forever. But I'm only doing one more, and then I'll check out. You know, they said, how much money would it take you to do Superman 4? And I said, there isn't a bank big enough. And we'll see how, you know, we'll see if I feel that way next year. But I think when you start working for money, just for money, you've turned a corner in your life. I don't mean to sound noble, but I really do feel that it's important to get up in the morning and like going to work. You know?
Well, this past year, you did a play on Broadway.
Yeah, I did 6 months on Broadway and 2 films, and both come out. 2 films coming out this year, and I'm shooting Superman 3 in July. And then I have 2 more films planned for '83.
So you're going to keep busy. So there may be some cynics who say, well, it's easier for him to say about, you know, banks being big enough for doing Superman 4 since there are a lot of other jobs.
Well, the question is, yeah, that's a fair criticism, really. That's fair, but I think that this is a way that I would choose to live my life, even if I were, you know, parking cars. I really would, you know, because it just, I can't stand the idea of saying, well, I'm cranking this out to pay bills. I really, it's, you know, life's too short to, if you don't have to. I mean, people say, well, I've got to, you know, support myself in the style to which I've become accustomed. Well, you know, you can back off a little bit, you know. You don't have to drive a roller. You can sell your airplane. You know, there's ways to accommodate. You know.
On your behalf, though, you did go back, I'm sure, after Superman 1, when a lot of movie offers were rolling in to the Williamstown Theater Festival.
And that's where I began, really. I was an apprentice there at the age of 15, and it's a place that I have a strong allegiance to. There's a thing that happens when you become a, quote, celebrity, which is that you no longer have the sort of the privacy to go off and experiment because people are looking. They want to know,
You can't hide anymore.
Yeah, and so how are you going to grow, right, after you've become a star? How are you going to really challenge yourself without the freedom, the laboratory, so to speak? And Williamstown is that place where I can go and sort of hide out. It's becoming more of a public place, though. I mean, when I did the front page, I was shocked to find it reviewed in Newsweek. You know, this isn't what
Had you not been there, obviously, it wouldn't have been.
So it's good for the theater, but also for me, it means an adjustment I make as well. I'm going to pretend that it's a private place the way it was. I'm just going to deny that it's in the limelight. And you can trick yourself that way to sort of narrow the focus and say this is a place where I experiment and improve and grow and try new things.
Do you think we'll ever get to the point here in the United States that they're currently at in England, where major stars will go and do what we would call regional theater for 6 months, 4 months, however long, do the plays, get the acting exercise they need, and then go back and make a film to make the money?
I think it's becoming increasingly that way. A couple of generations ago, to be a movie star was a full-time job. The public imagined that the persona on the screen was the same as the persona off-screen. Studio publicity machinery encouraged that opinion. And nowadays, the movie star really only has to create the magic on the screen, and then he can get into his Datsun and wear sneakers and, you know,
do whatever
drive away, which I think is good. It's maybe not quite as magical as it once was. It's not the stuff of fantasy. Yet, performances are better. I mean, if you look at the Oscar-nominated material, if you look like an actress like Meryl Streep, people, Sally Field, De Niro, they might not have come up through the ranks as high as they have a couple of generations ago. So the work is better. And if you had to pick a time to be a movie star, I'd certainly pick now, when we have much more personal freedom.
Now, of the films, the 2 films that you said you have completed, the one that will be released soonest is Death Trap.
Yes, Death Trap is a lot of fun. Really, this is not a hard sell. This is I've always wanted to be in a thriller, because first of all, the big problem is that I won't be able to go to opening night because I will probably be in a coma under the seat, you know, just frightened out of my wits. I can't take it, you know. I mean, I never could see The Bird, Psycho, any of that stuff. I'm terrified. So to actually make a thriller and scare other people is a lot of fun. But this is a thriller that combines laughs with suspense, and it's very, very stylishly done. Sidney Lumet directed. Michael Caine and Diane Cannon are in it. Jay Allen, who wrote The Prime Minister Jean Brodie, Prince of the City, she did the screenplay. It's really, you know, sort of first class all the way, and I had a great time doing it.
I remember interviewing Michael Caine when he was in another film that had been made from a play that had been quite successful on Broadway.
Sleuth.
Sleuth, right, in which he co-starred with Laurence Olivier, and I asked him what it was like the first day on the set, and he said, thank God I had no lines, because he said I wouldn't have been able to speak in the presence of Sir Lawrence. Now, I don't know what your feelings are about Michael Caine, because now he's in the senior position.
He's Olivier and I'm Caine.
Yeah.
He's become Olivier and I'm Caine in this picture.
Had you been a fan of his in a sense?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. He's somebody who has a wide range of talent, you know, from Zulu Dawn to Dress to Kill. I mean, he's lasted a long time, and you don't last a long time in this business. Not that he's, you know, ancient, but you don't last that long without something very original, and he has it. He just has that indefinable something which makes him special.
Yes, and that Dress to Kill movie freaked me out of 10 years growth, boy. Where he played a gender bender killer. Oh, spoiler alert. Brian De Palma's classic with Angie Dickinson. That was a freaky movie, scary. Would run on HBO all the time. And I like a movie he did called The Hand, Michael Caine, where he's an artist and he's just driving along in his car with his hand hanging out of the window, and it gets chopped off. It hits like a mailbox or something. And then the hand comes to life, the severed hand, and terrorizes Michael Caine. It's kind of like an evil thing on the Addams Family. That was a freaky movie. And that was directed by Oliver Stone, one of his early movies. Probably when he's whacked out on drugs, he thought of that one. That was a bizarre movie. But Death Trap is what he's talking about there. More like Death Crap. That would be what the Hollywood Minute 1990s SNL. Remember David Spade? He did Chaplin, more like Craplin. You know, he played like this a-hole movie critic. And most movie critics are a-holes. Are they not? Yes, they are. They're mostly, I guess, jealous because they can't create anything to save their lives, so they have to tear other creative people down. And yeah, there's movies that are bad. We all know that. But some of the criticisms are not fair at all. And I always thought it was weird. Siskel and Ebert were distributed by Buena Vista Television, Disney, Walt Disney. And they kind of were favorable to Disney movies for the most part. I thought, really? Are you really that, are they really unbiased? I don't think so. But I watched them. I liked them on David Letterman, on Late Night with the Late Show with David Letterman, Late Night with David Letterman on NBC. I always liked watching Siskel and Ebert because they would bicker. Now, some of that was just showbiz BS, staged. but it was funny when they would argue back and forth. So let me get back to a little bit. There's only another minute of this interview. I just want to document it because things appear and disappear on YouTube, which is the source of this 1981 CNN interview, I might add. So I want to go ahead and document it and record it here on the Podblast.
Special. For those who are not familiar with the material, who didn't see the play or read about it, a capsule of what Death Trap is about.
Well, Joe, I can't tell you what happens past page 26. Because
Well, give us
then
the
it
first
all
25
Yeah,
pages.
the first 25 pages are a pretty good hook. You have a playwright, a writer of thrillers, lives in Long Island, and he's written major hits. He's suddenly in a very bad dry spell, and we catch him on opening night of his latest thriller called Murder Most Fair, which is a major bomb. I mean, sort of Heaven's Gate time, right? And there's one reviewer, and it says, Sidney Brule's latest thriller just opened at the comedy thriller just opened at the Morosco Theater. So much for truth in advertising, you know.
In trouble.
It's like it's billed as a whodunit. Well, I'll tell you who done it. Sidney Brule done it, and he done it in public. You know, it's those kind of reviews. He goes home very smashed, sort of depressed, and on that day, by coincidence, a script has arrived in the mail from one Clifford Anderson, who was a student of playwriting at a seminar that Sidney gave last year, who has written the perfect 5-character, 2-act, commercial, easy-to-cast, all-time money-making thriller, plus T-shirts, you know, could make about $3 million. So, in the first act of the movie, Sidney Brule conspires to invite this guy to his house, knock him off, and pass off this play as his own, and then the fun starts from there.
Sidney being Michael Caine and the younger writer being yourself.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with it. And good luck here today when you journey downstairs to talk to the folks here at UCLA.
Thank you. I think they'll be friendly. They won't bark.
Just take off your, go. We'll race now to the nearest phone book.
Okay.
I loved Chris Reeve as a personality, as an actor. He was so quick, so intelligent. And, his roommate at Juilliard was Robin Williams. And Robin Williams entertained him after his terrible injury in the hospital. They were very close. Also, happy 72nd birthday to actor and Jedi Mark Hamill, who was born a year before Christopher Reeve on Tuesday, September 25th, 1951 in Oakland, California. And that's all I got to say about Superman the movie until the 45th anniversary episode of the Nostalgic Podblast, which would be around December 15th, 2023. Item. A great filmmaker for sure, but the arrogance of this man is astounding. The film industry is over, says Mr. Martin Scorsese. And to that I say, what about Oppenheimer? He's got to be the most sour grape person of all in the business. Here's a headline from The Hollywood Reporter. Martin Scorsese talks Hollywood film franchise, saying the, quote, industry is over, unquote. I think I might have some audio of this. It's about a minute long. And I just thought he was just wrong and just seems jealous. And he's going to trash the Marvel movies. And I think he's full of crap. Let's listen to this a little bit. This Martin Scorsese.
Martin Scorsese is not happy with the impact of Hollywood.
But this is not, I don't think he's on the record. It's a print interview from GQ magazine. But this is reported on the Hollywood Reporter's YouTube channel. It's just a minute and 18 seconds long. Check it out.
Martin Scorsese is not happy with the impact of Hollywood blockbusters on cinema. The filmmaker told GQ in a new interview, well, the industry is over. He continued, in other words, the industry that I was part of, we're talking almost, 50 years ago? It's like saying to somebody in 1970 who made silent films, what do you think's happened? Scorsese helped pioneer the film industry with iconic box office hits like Taxi Driver and Mean Streets. He added that the major studios, preferring easier to market popcorn movies that have franchise potential, no longer have interest in supporting, quote, individual voices that express their personal feelings or their personal thoughts and personal ideas and feelings on a big budget. And what's happened now is that they've pigeonholed it to what they call indies. The veteran Hollywood director insisted superhero popcorn movies that depend heavily on special effects, or what he referred to as manufactured content, no longer represent cinema. It's almost like AI making a film, and that doesn't mean that you don't have incredible directors and special effects people doing beautiful artwork, but what does it mean? What do these films, what will it give you? For more on Scorsese's thoughts, head to the article on thr.com. And for the latest entertainment news and updates...
Well, I gotta say something positive about him. You know, he directed Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, which is the basis for Alice, the CBS half-hour sitcom, Mel's Diner, yada, 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 starring Linda Lavin. But Ellen Burstyn played the title character of Alice, fresh off of The Exorcist. And that's actually a pretty good movie. It airs on TCM on occasion, Turner Classic Movies. So, you know, is he talented? Absolutely. But I think he's getting a little crusty in his old age, getting a little bitter. And I think he's losing it. I think he's lost it. I really do. And he's become a one-trick pony with all these mob movies. It's like lately that's all he can do. He used to have such versatility. So I don't think he'll ever be directing a Marvel blockbuster, and that's probably fine by him and fine by Disney as well. Item, happy debut day to the Beverly Hillbillies, which, as we're live on September 26th, began way back on September 26th, 1962. Which also is Donna Douglas's birthday, September 26th. We'll talk about her later. And also Gilligan's Island premiered 2 years later, also on CBS on September 26th, 1964. And I've unraveled a bit of the mystery. Steve Russo, who is a friend of the show, and he runs a really cool Facebook group about classic TV called The Fun World of Classic Television. And he pigeonholes it to certain years. I don't think he likes to talk beyond 1982, but which he has in the subject line. But this is pertaining to 9 consecutive episodes of Match Game, which have been lost for over 45 years, either lost or withheld. I think they were more like withheld. And they originally aired in the fall of 1978. I talked about this last time, so I'm not going to rehash, but I have some new information for you in terms of a theory of mine. But back in August 2023, the Game Show Network, or GSN, if you will, aired 9 Match Game episodes which had not been seen in over 45 years in their original air dates. And the reason, reportedly by many sources, is because Valerie Bertinelli, there were issues with episodes she appeared on. She appeared on 6 Match Game episodes, 5 CBS Match Game, and 1 Match Game PM syndicated. And they were all on the same tape along with these other episodes. Because of these 9... other episodes associated with the weeks before and after the Valerie Bertinelli week did air. It's just a couple of them did not because they were on the same master tape as the episodes with Valerie Bertinelli. Well, like I said, in the game show circuits on message boards, and it was always reported that there's a Valerie Bertinelli issue. Now, Steve Russo claims that he has read or seen an interview with Valerie Bertinelli where she claims, no, I didn't ask them not to air those again. And I've only watched half of them. I still haven't watched all of them yet, but I did find a piece of audio from one of her episodes that I think is the reason why they were withheld. And I don't think it was her. I think it was either the CBS network or her manager that requested that these episodes never air. I think more like it was CBS because at the time she was 18. She was on One Day at a Time, still playing a high school teenager who was a virgin. And she says something here on Match Game, and Gene Rayburn even sort of warns her about her image. And it's not even that bad. But let me just play that audio. It's very brief, just a minute or two. And listen to the warning that Gene Rayburn gives Valerie Bertinelli in this clip. Yeah, I got to find the exact cue mark. I should have had it queued up for you.
Indian.
Here we go. Hang on. 13-minute mark.
Oh.
Dirty Sacks.
Hang on. No, that's not it.
So there we go. 2-1 the score at the end of round 1. Round 2 coming up.
There we are. Now listen to this question and Valerie Bertinelli's banter. It's not her response, it's her banter.
With B. B it is. Mrs. Count Dracula said.
Val.
Mrs. Count Dracula.
Mrs. Count Dracula.
She doesn't have an accent, does she?
I don't know. This is kind of grabbing me by surprise here.
English, dear.
My husband turns into a bat so much, he's beginning to act like one. Now, he even hangs upside down when he blinks.
Mrs. Count Dracula speaking. My husband turns into a bat so much, he's beginning to act like one. Now he even hangs upside down when he blinks. You know who Dracula was. You know who Dracula was.
Do I not play?
You do not play. You're the only one. Everybody else does.
Jane, could you repeat that?
Sure.
I'm thinking...
Mrs. Count Dracula. You know who she was, right? She was married to Count Dracula.
Yes.
It was a simple wedding.
Or his mother.
Yes.
Could be his mother.
They were married in a crypt. Marble, Italian marble crypt. And after the Simone, But anyway, my husband turns into a bat so much he's beginning to act like one. Now he even hangs upside down when he blinks.
I love when said good.
Okay. Mrs. Count Dracula said, my husband turns into a bat so much he's beginning to act like one. Now he even hangs upside down when he blinks.
When he bites my neck? I'm trying.
And failing. See, he wouldn't bite her neck because he liked her a lot.
We censure Evelyn too strongly. Biting of the neck is part of the process.
Yeah, but he doesn't. Making love? Oh, yeah. Yeah, now that's a good answer, you see. He even hangs upside down when he makes love.
Wouldn't that be difficult?
Remember, you play a very young teenager, and one day at a time. You mustn't ask questions like that, my dear.
Okay.
All right, Charles. Are you ready, Charles? You going to throw that away?
Where am I? The doctor said since the war I take these 2 tablets and sometimes I go.
Oh, I see.
I bid 63,000.
No, I'm sorry. Charles, just show us the
He
king.
hangs from the shower curtain rod.
He hangs
when
from the
he
shower.
goes to the John.
Aha!
Just play the rest of the responses.
Now you got the idea. A most creative answer there. He was just doing his creative writing course in college. Now he even hangs upside down when he...
Real boring. Eats.
When he eats. Okay. All right. Now, here we go, Ed.
Well, I think I've got a match here.
Oh, you do? Mm-hmm. I hope so.
That he even hangs upside down when he sucks blood.
There's one. Okay. Right.
I forgot what I said.
Well, you forgot what you said?
Yeah.
Why are you crinkling your nose? Because it doesn't match?
It's not good.
No, now makes love was the definitive answer.
Okay, baby.
Makes love was the definitive answer there. Bonnie Ryan, here's what you have to do. You have to...
So, I'm such a detective. I'm playing junior detective here. I think that's the reason, that little exchange. I think it made the network nervous. But, again, that episode was withheld, and it was always... This would explain why, for decades, the reason these episodes were never shown again was because apparently there was, quote, a Valerie Bertinelli problem with the clearance, unquote. So this is my theory. Either her manager, her agent, or handler requested that CBS shelve those episodes since her virginal image was at stake. Or maybe it was a CBS executive who made that call, since One Day at a Time was a CBS hit show. Now, just because she made that comment doesn't mean she was active, but still. So I concur with Steve Russo, who says she denies that she, had a problem with those episodes. So I think that's the reason. I think it was from that moment, but I haven't seen the other half of the episode yet from YouTube, and they're all on YouTube. But that was episode 1312 on YouTube at the 13-minute mark, that little exchange. And that was day 2 of the Valerie Bertinelli Match Game episodes. And I've only seen through the halfway point of the day 3. So I'm exactly halfway between those 5 episodes, and Match Game PM with Valerie has not aired yet. Anyway, new feature that I introduced a couple Podblasts back. It's time for the classic music video of the week. And this time I want to talk about Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer music video, which was groundbreaking at the time. Peter Gabriel, the English rock musician, wrote the song. It was released in April 1986 as the lead single from his 5th studio album titled So, released in 1986. The album was produced by Peter Gabriel, and it reached number 1 in Canada on July 21st, 1986, where it spent 4 weeks in that position. And it was number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart in the United States on July 26, 1986. And it was number 4 on the UK singles chart, thanks in part to the music video. It was Peter Gabriel's biggest hit in North America and ties with Games Without Frontiers as his biggest hit in the UK, in the United Kingdom. The song's video won a record 9 MTV Video Music Awards at the 1987 MTV Video Music Awards ceremony. Was that the one with Andrew Dice Clay? He got banned? No, I think that might have been 1990. Anyway, and it also, the music video won Best British Video at the 1987 Brit Awards. The song also saw Gabriel nominated for 3 Grammy Awards for Best Male Rock Vocal Performance, for Record of the Year, and for Song of the Year. In a 2005 poll conducted by Channel 4 in England, the music video Sledgehammer was ranked 2nd on their list of the 100 greatest pop music videos. Now I've got to talk about our friends at Remind Magazine, who had a nice recent cover with Christopher Reeve, whom we've talked about a lot here on the Podblast tonight and on YouTube Live yesterday. Let me get that issue for the viewer. Hang on, guys. There's an offer, and it's been around for a while, but it's going away soon, where you can get a copy of Remind Magazine for just $1 an issue. No tax, no postage, mailed right to your door for just $1. The regular cover price is $5 at Barnes & Noble if you were to go to a newsstand or a Barnes & Noble and buy the magazine yourself. So, let me tell you how you can take advantage of this deal. It's akin to, Remind Magazine reminds me of Dynamite Magazine. You know, when Gen Xers were kids, we liked Dynamite Magazine at the book fairs and mailed via subscription. And the odds are, if you're listening or watching the Nostalgic Podblast, chances are you like nostalgia. Well, this monthly magazine, Remind Magazine, is loaded with interesting articles, games, it keeps your mind sharp, full color photos, interviews with your favorite stars, creators and personalities, and lots more. And Remind Magazine offers fresh takes on popular entertainment from days gone by. Each issue has dozens of brain-teasing puzzles, trivia quizzes, classic comics, and monthly themed features from the 1950s to the 1990s. The best part is, as I said, it comes to you in the mail or your gift recipient each and every month. So they'll think of you every time they get the magazine, and they'll think you spent a heck of a lot more than just $12 out the door for that annual gift. That's an introductory offer for the first year. Just go to remindmagazine.com to order using any major credit card, or you can call toll-free 855-773-6463. And again, you can use a Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover on their secure order page. Remindmagazine.com. And please mention the Nostalgic Podblast when you order. I love their magazine, and can't wait for the newest edition to arrive, which should be any day now, as we're live at the end of September 2023. Time for the old-fashioned expression of the week, and that is knuckle sandwich. From the Grammarist.com, the expression knuckle sandwich is an idiom with an origin that is generally ascribed to American movies of the 1930s. We'll examine the meaning of the idiom knuckle sandwich, where it came from, and some examples of its use in sentences. A knuckle sandwich is a punch in the mouth with a fist. The idea that the sandwich is the hand. The origin of the expression knuckle sandwich is uncertain, but many experts trace the term to American movies in the early 20th century featuring tough street children or small-time gangsters. The phrase is often rendered as, quote, I had to give you a knuckle sandwich. Hell, I heard it on the Three Stooges a lot. Moe would say that, right? Meaning the listener deserves a punch in the mouth. The idiom sometimes is rendered as a question. Do you want a knuckle sandwich? This may be considered a warning to back off whatever course of action the listener is taking under threat of violence. So let's talk about the nostalgic toy of the week. And I got to get a clip to accompany this for you. It's Colorforms. And I have some really neat commercials that I want to share with you now. Just a couple of them. They're just 30 seconds apiece. As I tell you what Colorforms are. And a lot of you already know. They're little vinyl pieces, but I'll go into the details in a second. I want to play a commercial now from 1978 for Colorforms.
With Colorforms' Incredible Hulk Adventure Set,
I'll be the Incredible Hulk.
you can pretend lots of things. Like the Hulk is battling his archenemy Rhino, or using his incredible strength against the Abomination, or single-handedly capturing a gang of evildoers. You can pretend lots of exciting adventures with your imagination and Colorforms' Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk Adventure Set comes with 24 plastic playing pieces.
It's Colorforms fun.
I remember Colorforms on airplanes. The flight attendants, or stewardesses back then, as they were called, or steward-I, would give kids Colorforms to play with. At least on Eastern Airlines they did. That's a nostalgic airline. My goodness. And let me see. I think I have another interesting commercial for you for Colorforms. This is going way back. Let's listen to this spot.
Come closer. See, I'm Miss Cookie from Colorforms Lane. Won't you come into my kitchen? A Colorforms kitchen, see? With magical plastic dishes and cupboards you can open and close. A stove, and oh yes, the milk's in the refrigerator. Colorforms, you know, press to stick on and lift to remove. No scissors, paste, or paint needed. And they never, never, never wear out. When the party's over, just put the dishes in the sink and the pots in the pantry. And we're all cleaned up. Don't forget, for real fun, get Miss Cookie's Kitchen by Colorforms. Miss Cookie, that's me. Oh, there's Popeye, Daddy.
And olive oil and Bluto, too. They're all in the Popeye cartoon kit by Colorforms.
Who's feeding those? Daddy, look. His body's running away. I know who it is. It's Popeye.
What muscles he has. Oh, boy.
What's happening to Popeye? Finish! He's bopping pronto.
Colorforms' magical shapes never wear out. They come in bright colors, and you don't need magnets, scissors, or paste.
There you go. I don't want to go too long with these commercials, but those are great vintage commercials for Colorforms. And since Miss Molly reviewed Barbie, here's the Barbie Colorform set in a 1970 commercial.
Little girls love to dress up. Now with Colorform's new Barbie dress-up kit, you can have lots of fun dressing Barbie. Barbie has all the latest fashions: skirt, blouse, and shoes for school, vest, bells, and belts for parties, clothes for dancing, coat and boots for shopping. Colorforms stick like magic, so you can dress Barbie over and over again. The Barbie dress-up kit. It's more fun to play the Colorforms way.
So for those that don't know, I'll tell you what Colorforms are. Colorforms is a pretty creative toy, named for the simple shapes and forms cut from colored vinyl sheeting that cling to a smooth backing surface, cardboard in nature, with a smooth surface, without adhesives. These pieces are used to create picture graphics and designs, which can then be changed to countless, which then can be changed countless times by repositioning the removable color forms. The name also refers to the specific registered trademark brand these products are produced under, as well as the company that manufactures the toys, Colorforms Brand LLC. Colorform sets initially featured basic geometric shapes and bright primary colors on black or white backgrounds. Eventually, however, Colorform's line evolved into sets that included full-color illustrated playsets, games, and puzzles, interactive books, and creative activity sets for children of all ages. The licensing of media properties related to contemporary pop culture, like that Incredible Hulk ad you heard and the Barbie ad you heard, that Mattel owns Barbie, Marvel Comics owns the Hulk, and now Disney owns the Hulk, became integral to the product and the company's success once they incorporated licensed sets. Since its inception, more than a billion Colorforms play sets have been produced and sold. And here's a brief origin of Colorforms. The Colorforms concept was developed by Harry and Patricia Chiclets, that's spelled Kislevitz, back in 1951, firmly rooted in the modernist design ethos and reflecting the color-filled abstract style prevalent at the time. The basic concept behind Colorforms is the ability to adhere and reposition abstract and geometric color-formed shapes on random surfaces to create artwork. Both recent art students, the couple discovered the idea when they acquired several rolls of flexible paper-thin colored vinyl used to manufacture plastic pocketbooks and found it would stick to the glossy paint in their bathroom and allow them to reposition it at will without affecting either surface. It wouldn't damage either surface. Simply cutting shapes out of the material and sticking them to the wall turned out to be amusing enough that they left extra vinyl with a pair of scissors for guests to add their creations of their own. The positive reactions they got to the project led Harry to believe there was a market potential for such a product, and he was right. The original Colorform sets were spiral-bound booklets hand-assembled by the husband and wife team in their New York City apartment. The first 1,000 sets were sold on concept to FAO Schwartz Toy Store. Shallow box sets containing screen-printed die-cut pieces and illustrated backgrounds began appearing soon after. The company used the slogan, "It's more fun to play the Colorforms way," in print ads and television commercials to promote their products. Prominent graphic designer Paul Rand was commissioned to create the company logo that remains in use to this day. He also gave input for a signature edition playset. The company rarely employed an in-house creative staff, relying instead on the Kislevitz's own artistic direction provided to top freelance illustrators for layouts and finished work. Indeed, the company's creative director from 1965 until 1986, toy designer and inventor Bill Bernkrant, Birnkrant, Bernkrant, was not a formal Colorforms employee, working instead for a royalty percentage of the profits. The defining feature of most Colorforms playsets is their signature plastic stick-ons, which is a trademark term, that can be placed and repositioned on top of graphic backgrounds to create endless scenes and scenarios at a child's whim. Very creative toy, just like Legos, the building blocks. And the last time we talked about the Kitty-Rama cartoon theater coin-operated machines that would show cartoons in little booths. And they typically would play Universal Studios cartoons for a quarter, like Chilly Willy, Woody Woodpecker. Those are the ones that I remember. And they use sound 8mm film. I'm getting punchy. Item. It's time for the TV cliche of the week as we start to wind down the show. When a key character is recast, that really irritates me. It still happens to this day on soap operas and the like. But I cannot stand that when there's a problem. Like if an actor passes away, it's understandable, but they should probably just kill the character off, right? Because it's so like I was going to say unsightly, not unsightly, but it's just so off-putting. That's a better way to put it. To see your character come back the next season with a different actor. Classic example, Darren on Bewitched. That's been talked to death. Dick Sargent and Dick York, the original Darren. Hell, it happened on The Fugitive and on The Invaders, where like a key character, in both those instances, an actor that played the brother of the main character would come back the next season playing an entirely different character. That's another piece to the TV cliche of the week. So to back up, when a key character is recast or when an actor plays a key role, like the brother of a main character, and then they're cast the next season as an entirely different character or a season after. Happened also on Bewitched with Paul Lynde. He played a driving instructor for Samantha in season 1 in Black and White and Bewitched, and then he came back as Uncle Arthur, thankfully, because that was a great character, and Dora's brother, the jokester. But that just really bothers me when they recast or, just for continuity's sake, just write a script for that character, that brother or sister of a main character. Don't use that actor in another role. It just takes you out of the reality they're trying to create. And of course it's not real, but it just really takes you out of the show. Now, last time on the Podblast, we talked about the TV cliche of knocking someone out with the butt of a gun, which I don't think would work in real life as effectively as it does on TV. All it does is cause a knot in your head. So moving on, let's see what I have here. Got a few birthdays we must acknowledge. Let me find the clip in my clip machine here. Our happy birthday rock music. There were some big ones. Now, we've already talked about Mark Hamill, obviously, and Chris Reeve at length. Didn't talk about Mark that much, just about his accident, his car crash in January 77, January 11th, 1977 to be precise. But I have some others for you, just a couple. Oh, my clip isn't planned, damn it. Bear with me, folks. I apologize. Every time I seem to have a problem with this clip. I don't get it. Here are some celebrity birthdays of famous folks in entertainment, sports, art, and music, both living and no longer on Earth, that I must acknowledge. These are notable pop culturally significant birthdays. Happy heavenly birthday to Donna Douglas, best known as the critter-loving Ellie Mae Clampett in the Beverly Hillbillies on CBS. This has been a Filmways presentation, she would announce at the end of most of the episodes of the Beverly Hillbillies after the end credits. I think starting with season 3. Or was it 4? I think it was season 3. No, season 4, the first color season. Donna Douglas was born on Monday, September 26th, 1932 in Pride, Louisiana. Unfortunately, Donna passed away on Thursday, January 1st, 2015 at the age of 82 in Zachary, Louisiana. In 2023, episodes of the Beverly Hillbillies began airing in prime time on MeTV, Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. Happy heavenly birthday. I'm going to save this one. Olivia Newton-John was born on September 26, 1948 in Cambridge, England. Talk about her in a moment. I just want to go down the list as the music plays for September 27th and September 28th. Gwyneth Paltrow was born on September 27th. Wait for it. I lost my place. 1972 in Los Angeles, California. Happy birthday to Avril Lavigne, born in 1984 in Bellevue, Canada. Happy birthday to Steve Kerr. These are September. Happy heavenly birthday to Meatloaf, who died on January 20th, 2022. But he was born on September 27, 1947 in Dallas, Texas. Wilford Brimley was born on September 27th. William Conrad, great voice, who worked in radio, film, television over 50 years, narrator of The Fugitive, the original Marshall Dillon in the Gunsmoke radio play. He was born September 27th, 1920 in Louisville, Kentucky. He passed away on February 11th, 1994. Gosh, he's been gone almost 30 years. And, of course, he was Cannon, a QM production. Jake and the Fat Man. He did all sorts of shows. Just an awesome actor and voice talent. Happy birthday to Sean Cassidy. He was a heartthrob in the 1970s. Do Run, 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 a Do Run, Run. He was born September 27, 1958 in Los Angeles, California. Of course, Shirley Jones is his mother. I'll have to do a post about that later in the Nostalgic Podblast Facebook group. Jane Meadows, she passed away in April 26, 2015, but that's Audrey Meadows' sister. She was born on September 27, 1919 in China. The great Greg Morris from the original Mission Impossible and Vegas in the 1970s. He's a great actor. He was born September 27, 1933 in Cleveland, Ohio. He's been gone since August 27, 1996, unfortunately. Mike Schmidt of Philadelphia Phillies fame was born in 1949 on September 27th. Let's talk about September 28th right fast quick. And then we'll get to Olivia Newton-John, who was born on September 26th. Melissa, well, I don't want to jump all over the place, but happy birthday on the 26th. Happy belated birthday to Melissa Sue Anderson from Little House on the Prairie, and happy birthday to Me, a freaky horror slasher movie. It was made in Canada. But let's look at our list for September 28th. Oh, you got some big biggies. Bridget Bardot and, just a sec. Hilary Duff, I always liked her. Naomi Watts was born on September 28, 1968 in England. Happy birthday to you. Bridget Bardot. Wow. She's still around. Born in 1934 in Paris, France. Of course, she's a French actress and singer known for her films and God Created Woman and Viva Maria. Beautiful lady. And so sad about Sophia Loren. She had a recent birthday and she fell and broke her hip in several places. Happy birthday to Mira Sorvino, born September 28, 1967 in Manhattan, New York. Daughter of Paul Sorvino, another great actor. She's good too. Very talented. I like Rami Michelle's High School Reunion. They created Post-it notes, don't you know, with Lisa Kudrow from Friends. That was a good, kind of a cute movie. Happy heavenly birthday to Ed Sullivan, born in 1901 on September 28th. 1901 in Harlem, New York, and he died back in 1974 on October 13th, 1974. Some people I don't acknowledge just because... Oh, happy birthday, because I don't like them. Happy birthday to Moon Unit Zappa, Frank Zappa's daughter. She was born September 28th, 1967. I love her novelty song, Valley Girl. I play it a lot in retro music cuts on Fistful of Radio. Out of Atlanta at fistfulofradio.com. You can check it out. I love Valley Girl. It's one of the best novelty songs of all time. Let's see. Also on September 28th. I didn't prepare this, can't you tell, as I stall here and and ah and play that music again and again and again and again. William Wyndham, I'll mention him. Heavenly birthday. He was born on September 28th, 1923 in Manhattan, New York. He died on August 16th, 2012. He was in so many Quinn Martin shows. He was Commodore Decker in the classic Star Trek episode, The Doomsday Machine. Supposedly the father of Will Decker from Star Trek The Motion Picture, played by Stephen Collins, who was disgraced about 10 years ago. And I won't even talk about why. But it caused the breakup of his marriage to Faye Grant, who has been on Curtis's Retro Zest podcast in 2023. He did a fantastic interview with her, and she was the star of V, the original miniseries V, The Final Battle, and V, the series. Faye Grant, among other things. Okay, so I guess I'm going to wrap on the birthdays as we start to wind down the show. I say that, and then I go for another half hour, it seems, at least. Oh, I didn't talk about Olivia Newton-John. Happy heavenly birthday to her. Jumping around here, we got to go back to September 26th, and I'm going to play an interesting clip I found from 1977 where she's on the set of Grease. Grease didn't open until 1978, so it's in production. She's talking to Mike Douglas, and I think this is a pretty cool piece of audio that I want to share with you now. And then we'll get to our nostalgic, it's right here, the nostalgic treat of the week. That's coming right up. Let's listen to a little bit of this interview with Olivia Newton-John. This is from November 3rd, 1977 on the Mike Douglas Show.
We were in Hollywood recently, and we visited the set of a movie that's just finished production. It'll be in your theater soon. It's the movie version of the hit Broadway musical Grease. And wait till you see who's in the cast. John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. Watch. I'm at Paramount Studios on the set of a big new musical movie, Grease. And the producer of Grease is a big-time Hollywood manager and producer, and a man who knows this city better than anyone I know. He is Alan Carr, a good friend. I always marvel at this, people shaking hands.
Yes, and a park bench in front of a drive-in.
Doesn't everybody do interviews like this?
You come here often to this drive-in.
What is this set?
This is a very glamorous set, it's hard to see inside, of the Frosty Palace soda shop. I understand.
Yeah, good.
Because we're here live from Paramount. And this is the scene where all the high school kids gather. This is the long-running Broadway musical that's still playing in New York for 7 years. And this is the movie version, and it's going to be glamorous and fun.
For those people who haven't seen the show, Grease, tell us a little bit about what it's
like. Well, it's the ultimate 50s statement of musical comedy. It's what it was like growing up in the era of James Dean and CinemaScope and 3D and rock and roll and greased hair and pony tails and poodle skirts. And it was an age that I, of course, was too young to remember, but it was fun. And we look back at those movies, and you were, I think, in grammar school at that point.
That's right.
And but no, seriously, the people at home will all love it because it's nostalgia from the 50s, but also very current because a lot of the kids behave the same way they do today as they did then.
The casting of this movie is a stroke of genius on your part, if I may say so.
Thank you.
Tell me how you decided on a female lead.
Well, we had looked at a lot of girls, and a lot of girls had looked at me to get this part, which is one of the great reasons.
Wait a minute. Let's expound on that just a little.
Well, I mean, when you're a producer,
how do girls look upon a producer?
Do you want to? They go. You're going to be they want to. No, seriously, they wanted to be in this movie because they knew it was a terrific role, and a lot of famous girls who could sing would actually, their managers would call and say, "Would you see so and so for this part?" And there was only one girl that I wanted, and the reason I knew I wanted her, I was having dinner one night at Helen Reddy's house and her husband Jeff Wall, and sitting across from me was this girl I had never seen before, and she was so funny and so adorable and so perfect, and she was already a big star in another area, another media. And I went, oh, if this girl could act, she would be a big movie star. And not only could she act, we did a screen test, and she was wonderful, and she signed, and she's going to be the big musical star of the 70s.
Did the fact that she had already sold 50 million records have anything to do with it?
Didn't hurt, trust me, it didn't hurt. No, but that
didn't hurt a bit.
Couldn't wait.
To lose someone else's voice, like in My Fair Lady.
Yeah.
Now she's about to be brought on. I should have done some editing here, but she's about to be introduced right now.
Audrey Hepburn was lovely, but she couldn't sing.
How did she react to the fact that you asked her to do a test, having sold all these records?
She thought that we could be the Carlo Ponti and Sophia Loren of the teenage set. No, she was thrilled, and she's a lovely person, and she's humble.
Can I have a gesture for me, like both of us together?
And there
Here she is now, the leading lady of Grease.
Finally.
John.
And she's in wardrobe in her hair. I wish I could show it to you. She's like she looked at the scene right before she becomes Sandy 2 at the race. And they're on the set of that Frosty's Palace where they have burgers and milkshakes and malts and all that stuff. They're on the outside of that set at Paramount. And so she's dressed just like she was in the Goodbye to Sandra Dee scene.
Olivia, everything he said true. What did he mean? You were so funny. He said you were so funny. I never thought of you as being funny.
No,
How?
it's basically true.
Do it.
No, I wouldn't dare.
Oh, she crosses her eyes very well.
Across the table, and he was rather stunned by this, I think. So
She does have a marvelous quality, though, doesn't she?
Yeah.
No, every time I've seen her on television, how many times have I said to you in the past, you should be in movies? Tell the truth. On your little fence in Malibu? That's right. I even told Burt Reynolds about her, and he said, yeah.
Is that why he's been hanging around?
I think so.
That's right.
He never did anything.
Well, he wanted to.
This is your first movie, correct? Or had you ever done anything
I have done
before?
one before, but this is the first one I'm counting.
But you're not going to talk about the one before. Where'd you do it, in Australia or
I
here?
did it in England,
Ah.
and it was pretty bad.
Knowing the importance of this role in this movie, how did you feel that first day when you walked in front of the camera for your first scene? Were you very comfortable?
Not completely. I was nervous, very nervous in fact, but everyone made me feel so comfortable.
He makes it easy for you,
Yes,
doesn't he?
he did.
He's such fun to be around.
Carlo.
Gee, hey, hi, Sophia. Oh.
But he asked you to do a screen test, a lady who had already achieved stardom. How did you react to that?
I was very pleased, actually. Most people resent the fact that they're asked to do a screen test, but I'm not a proved actress and I knew it. And for my own sake, as well as everybody else's, I didn't want to waste their time or mine if I wasn't going to be right for it. So.
And tell me what that involved, the screen test, because there are various kinds of screen tests. There's what they call a personality test.
It's very important. If you believe in somebody, and I believe in Olivia's ability, because I believe in her personality and her acting ability, you must give them what I call an A screen test, like the old days, which means the director, the leading man, the cinematographer, the right wardrobe, the right makeup. And if you give them all this help, and if they've got it, it'll come through, as opposed to a television thing where, hi, I'm Olivia, off next. Who's next? Next. We're looking for a new girl. You must give them the time to prove what the camera can discover about somebody. And as interesting as this is, sitting at home watching us, when you see her on the screen, you will see this major personality come through in a role that is funny and young and terrific and singing and dancing and with a sense of humor. But you have to play that in a character, and that's why she's so good.
Now, a moment ago, when you sat down kiddingly, you said earlier, when I saw you, you did something, it sounded like a New York girl. I mean, what about the accent, the Australian, the accent? Did you work on that?
No. I'm not playing a New York girl. I'm playing myself, which is very fortunate that they happen to want an Australian girl in this role. No, it was actually an American girl, and they rewrote the piece that I came from Australia.
It was a simple, logical change. It's about a boy and a girl who have a summer romance, and they break up, never thinking they're going to see each other again. And then she goes to a new school, and new schools are hard for teenagers, and especially from another country. And so we made that slight adjustment by saying her parents had moved from Australia, which people do move from Australia to America.
Oh, a lot.
Hard to believe, but they do want to come here. No, I love Australia, and it was not a difficult story point. We didn't really wreck the story. It made it actually more touching because she feels very foreign with all these kind of greaser kids because she's kind of blonde and innocent.
I'm the outcast.
How did you find out what it was all about in the 50s in America? How did you learn as a kid about that?
I was in Australia then.
Yeah.
We had a lot of television, Dick Clark and all those shows.
Did you?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yes. Australia now and then has followed America pretty closely, really.
How does an Alan Carr become such a big producer? How did it happen? Just
I watched my weight, and oh, come on, you know how that all happened.
Just evolved.
Because I love movies and I love show business, and I've worked, and although we make it a good time, underneath all this frivolity is a lot of seriousness, which is what goes on. It's like Olivia, they're going to say, Olivia is a star overnight. I mean, this girl schlepped around clubs and concerts and in 3 continents, and all of a sudden she's a star overnight, which is what they say about everybody. You too, from Chicago.
Yes.
Right?
I want to keep it rolling, so I have to pause. We'll be right back with Olivia and Alan right after this.
Just a moment. We got some dead air all of a sudden. They went to break. Hang on. I want to play a little bit more. I think this is very rare stuff here. There we go. Sorry about that.
Alan, I do want to know more, if I may, about how things are going. Are you on schedule, as they say?
Yes, we are on schedule and on time, which is very important for a musical of this size, because it could be very costly, and I think that so the economics of the movie business is very important so that we don't spend more money than we should. So we're all fine, because the kids are very professional. I mean, Olivia, another kind of star could go, I don't like my hair and makeup. Well, that statement would cost us thousands of dollars if she were temperamental and difficult. And that does happen in movies. You've heard about movies where
And
people have
indeed
said
I
that? Oh, yes.
and read about it. Are you enjoying this?
Loving it. Had a terrific time.
What's the toughest part? Is the waiting between scenes, is that rough for you?
No, because there's always people to talk to and things. So it's getting out early. That's the hardest thing.
The girls have to get up earlier than guys, don't they, to get here?
Takes longer to get together.
How did you get Joan Blondell for this movie?
We just really asked her because we felt that she was right to play this kind of tough waitress with a heart of gold, a role that she knew. And she is the waitress at this soda shop where the kids come and hang out.
I saw her do something at a rehearsal one time that I've never forgotten. I was very, very young and highly impressed with her. She picked up a script and just scanned it. And not only knew her part, but ours too. And she has a photographic
Really?
memory.
I didn't know
You
that.
must ask her about that.
Oh. Well, we have wonderful people. You know, we call them cameos now. Joan Blondell. Eve Arden is the principal of the high school. Dodie Goodman is her secretary.
Oh, that's marvelous.
And we have Sid Caesar as the athletic coach.
You like working with all these old pros? Aren't they great?
It's an experience for me.
Yeah, they're really, really wonderful.
You are one of the great party givers of all time. Olivia and I both went to a party Saturday night. I shouldn't have been there, you know, because, you see, my initial begins with D, and I should have gone Friday night, correct?
You could come either night. It was actually, a party could go either night.
Oh, I thought I had to go
Well, it was
on
A to L and M to Z, but you could come either. I didn't know what to put you under, Newton or O, or Olivia or John. I mean, I was confused.
That's why I thought I could come either
She
night,
could come
too.
either night, too. No, it was fun, yeah.
Fantastic party, a lot of fun.
And I thought you behaved very well, considering. No, it was
I
nice
thought
to see you out of
I
Philadelphia.
thought the porch lights were a little bright.
Is that what you felt out?
No.
No.
But we're driving.
That was very
This is so funny. We're driving. What do I know from Malibu? I'm from Philadelphia. We're driving, and my driver saw these enormous Klieg lights, and he said, "Could that be it?" I said, "Yes, that is definitely it."
That was
because
it.
I knew I was going to Alan Carr's party, and I figured you'd go big, Alan.
Yes, it was. Well, you saw interesting people. Well, the thing about
The most
glamorous, but it was
interesting
because you saw Margaret Trudeau,
Right.
and you saw Carlo Ponti, and
Yes.
Keith Carradine, and I mean a mixture of people, which I thought was very interesting.
I
You
missed
bring
all
people.
of them.
Where were you?
I was there. Oh.
You have to circulate. I keep saying, don't be so shy. Get out more. That's
you
why
meet-
she's single.
Didn't you
She
meet
won't
any-
mix.
Sat in the
was the
corner.
problem.
Sat
I
in
knew
the
there was
corner,
a
wouldn't tell anybody who she was. Aren't you?
No. Well, what were you doing with Wonder Woman in the corner? Ah, yes.
There goes my whole career.
Ah, yes. Well,
no, my wife and I.
my wife and I.
Sat with. My wife and I sat with Ron Samuels and Linda Carter. Don't try to make anything out of this,
No, I
Alan.
wouldn't. Hello, Rona.
Rona Barrett. This is so dated, but it seems like I'm talking a lot about 1978 between the premiere of Battlestar Galactica. That's because it's the 45th anniversary. 45 is a big number, big anniversary to celebrate of Superman the movie, December 15th, 1978. Battlestar Galactica, September 17th, 1978. Grease in 1978. But I'm playing this because it was recently Olivia Newton-John's heavenly birthday. She was born on September 26th.
Anything you want.
Do you do any business at those parties? Can you?
No, I wouldn't do that.
Come on.
No, I wouldn't. No, I don't. Oh, I'd have a good time.
You get the most interesting wardrobe I've ever seen, Alan.
Well, I can take it off as a tax loss. That's kind of what they expect. Listen, let's face it, Hollywood is not dead. Movies are more glamorous than ever. I'm a big believer in the business. First of all, I love television, but you still want to go out and have a good time. And I think if we make fun on the set and make glamour here, then when you go and pay $3.50 a ticket or $3 or $2, it's expensive. We must bring that fun to the audience at home. And that's what I try to do in my personal life and my work life.
A little anecdote about John Travolta. He was, of course, on Welcome Back, Kotter, and in between season 2 and 3 of Welcome Back, Kotter, he worked on Grease, and they had to cut his hair short to play. What was this? I'm having a brain toot in his name. I was going to say Vinnie Barbarino. No, that's in Danny Zuko. He had to cut his hair short because it was set in like the 1950s. It was set even earlier in time than the George Lucas classic American Graffiti, which was set in 1962. This was actually set in the 50s. And so they put him in a terrible wig to look like his hair was still long in the season 3 premiere of Welcome Back, Kotter. The early episodes of season 3, the first several, it's like Chekhov in Star Trek. When Walter Koenig was introduced at the start of season 2, the original Star Trek, they had him in a beetle wig. or a monkey's wig, or both. It looked terrible, just like the John Travolta wig in season 3 of Welcome Back, Kotter.
Does he do it here on the set? Is he that funny?
Don't say one thing.
Olivia, please.
Olivia.
No, he's fantastic. He brightens us up when he comes in.
Thank you.
You gonna stay in this business a while?
I hope so.
You know who I enjoyed?
What did I do wrong?
I enjoyed so much meeting your mother.
Oh, she loved you.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Doesn't she know that house? Because we're
No,
sitting,
she
mother did the
doesn't.
funniest piece of business. We're sitting in the ocean, sloshing up underneath this porch, this lovely room, and there was a piece of plastic, and your mother apparently thought it was glass. She put this huge purse up there, and it was on its way into the drink, and we all went, at the same time, Mother does more shtick than you do.
That's my beach house. She's not invited out there a lot. That's why I had the party, to show them that no, the room was different. It was a covered porch. Now stop that. That room was usually a sun deck.
All right, it's getting a little boring, so I'll cut that clip, but that is a great interview. God, Olivia Newton-John, I can't believe she's no longer with us. It just doesn't seem right that she's deceased, you know? And she beat breast cancer all those years. So happy heavenly birthday to Olivia Newton-John. Olivia burst into life on Sunday, September 26th, 1948 in Cambridge, England, before relocating to Australia. Always full of youth, beauty, and strength, Olivia was a longtime breast cancer survivor. Best known as Sandy in what you heard there, a clip on the set of the big screen adaptation of the Broadway hit musical Grease. Olivia was exceptionally attractive in the panned cult classic 1980 movie Xanadu, where she met her future husband, professional dancer Matt Lattanzi, the father of her only child, Chloe. Olivia was a truly magical entertainer, and Olivia Newton-John sadly passed away on Monday, August 8th, 2022 at the age of 73. Big loss, but again, she's immortal thanks to her records and her movies. And it was funny seeing her in Tool of a Kind, where she was reunited with John Travolta. It was a 1983 movie. It's a bad movie. But Olivia says swear words in that. I won't repeat it, but she goes, it tastes like S-H-I-T. In other words, she's kind of risque in that movie and funny and, and cussing. Using adult foul language is kind of funny because she, it went against her type there. Nostalgic Treat of the Week. Let's get to that. And if you want to see the rest of this interview or hear it, go to YouTube and just look up Olivia Newton-John, The Mike Douglas Show, 1977. It'll pop right up. And that was from November 3rd, 1977. So I will stop that clip. And now I want to talk about the Nostalgic Treat of the Week. So I got to play a couple quick commercials. Here's one from 1962, thanks to 16mm film.
What's new in the magic land of Chiclets?
In this land of flavor and fun, all the flowers are chewing gum. Just pick up that and what do you get? Fruit-flavored Chiclets, lime and lemon, wild cherry, grape and orange, cranberry. All these flavors in one pack. Fruit-flavored Chiclets, chewing gum.
A whole world of flavor from the magic land of Chiclets. And here's another new treat, Chiclets Tiny Size.
When it rains, it never wet. Those tiny drops are real Chiclets.
Delicious new Chiclets Tiny Size Chewing Gum. 150 in every pack.
From this world of flavor and fun to brand new kinds of chewing gum.
A whole world of flavor in fruit-flavored Chiclets gum. And 150 pieces in every pack of Chiclets Tiny Size Gum.
From the magic land of Chiclets.
I joined the Army in my early 20s. I wanted to be a part of something that was bigger
crap.
than myself.
I got caught with an ad. So,
We're together again.
wow, that was pretty bad of me walking away when that ad played. But of course, our treat of the week are Chiclets. Here's a 1969 commercial.
You're on a diet. You want to eat. Your willpower is getting weaker. Quick, a box of willpower. New Chiclets. Chiclets chewing gum has a flavor coating that helps satisfy you fast. Only 6 calories each. 6 that may give you the willpower to resist hundreds of calories a day. Help win your battle against calories with colorful, delicious new Chiclets flavor-coated gum. A box of willpower.
I love that hard shell on Chiclets gum, and the little minis were great. But Chiclets, that's, of course, an American brand of candy-coated chewing gum manufactured by Mondelez International. The brand was introduced way back in 1900 by the American Chicle Company, a company founded by Thomas Adams. Chiclets, the name, was derived from the Mexican-Spanish word chicle, C-H-I-C-L-E, derived from the Aztec word meaning sticky stuff, and referring to a pre-Columbian chewing gum found throughout Mesoamerica. This pre-Columbian chewing gum was tapped as a sap from various trees. Chiclets are essentially the same as the indigenous chicle, with the innovation of a hard sugar coating offered in various flavors and colors. The original flavor was peppermint, and assorted fruit flavors were available in Algeria, Argentina, Canada, Colombia, the Dominican Republic, Egypt, India, Iraq, Lebanon, Mexico, Portugal, Syria, Turkey, the United Kingdom, and parts of the Americas. In some markets, like Mexico, the brand is known as Adams Chiclets, named after the brand founder, Thomas Adams. In Greece, the colloquial word referring to gum derived from the first imports of the product, Chiclets, after World War II. Various people have been credited with inventing Chiclets, including the brothers Robert and Frank Flair and Louis Mahle, M-A-H-L-E, Mahle. And I love Flair bubblegum in their old football cards and baseball cards. They had the best of the card gum, in my opinion. But getting back to Chiclets, it was mentioned, and this is sad, in the Saturday Evening Post in 2019 that as of 2016, Chiclets were discontinued by Mondelez in the United States. It has reappeared as of 2019, manufactured in Mexico. In 2020, the Trademark Trial and Appeal Board held that the Chiclets trademark had not been abandoned. To further confuse the issue, it was noted in an article on the MAShed website that Chiclets, identified as Adams Chiclets, were available at Walmart, Kmart, and Amazon in the USA. It is unclear whether the product has been changed in its formula or not. So I'm glad they're not gone. I thought Chiclets were gone. Like Certs are. It sucks that Certs are no more. Certs were disbanded in 2018 by the U.S. government because an ingredient of cottonseed oil was deemed illegal by the Food and Drug Administration. Remember Retsin? And they're two mints in one. I loved Certs. So anyway, I'm glad that Chiclets are still around. And I played the commercials for you. So, and last time, if you didn't see the Battlestar Galactica first 45 years Nostalgic Podblast, last time it was Freshen Up chewing gum. So that's 2 gums in a row. Next time, I'll not three-peat chewing gum as the Nostalgic Treat of the Week. I already know what I'm going to talk about, and it's definitely not bubble gum. So let's see. What else did I have now? I guess we're about out of time. Want to mention I've rescheduled Fritz Coleman. He's been on Adam Carolla recently back in August 2023, and Louise Palanker, and that's going to be on Friday, October. I didn't write it down. Friday, October the 13th. Hang on a second. Let me look at their manager's email as we're live, so I don't misspeak. Email. Where are you? Gosh darn it. October 13th at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We'll have comedian Fritz Coleman, who in the Los Angeles area is a very well-known on-air personality. He was on air at the NBC affiliate from 1982 until he retired in 2020. And Louise, she is equally impressive. She co-founded the Premier Radio Networks, and she's a writer, director, author. They're a team, and they also have their own podcast. We'll talk all about it. That'll be coming up on October the 13th. And I'll probably pop on YouTube Live in between now and then, but check them out. And just some shout outs, and then we'll end the show. Don't forget Curtis Langclow of the Retro Zest Show. He also runs on Fistful of Radio out of Atlanta. But look at his website. And he's got 33,000 plus members of his page on Facebook. But retrozest.com is where you can find his podcast. I highly recommend it. He has lots of great guests. He just snagged an interview with Marin Jensen from Battlestar Galactica. She's very, very rare. I don't mean to go on and on and on and on and on about this interview, but it was really entertaining, and he did a great job. So check him out. Go to retrozest.com. And check out Geek to Me Radio at KTRS in St. Louis. Check out BK on the Air Saturdays, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time on WBHF out of Cartersville, Georgia. It's all about nostalgia. That's what that radio show's about. This guy, Barry King and Alan Sanders, talk nostalgia. And look at a YouTube buddy, Thrash Pondo, on YouTube Sunday and Monday evenings, Open by Chance Toys on YouTube, and of course Superman Homepage live on YouTube Monday night at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific time. They're not going to be on next week. They're taking a week off because of scheduling conflicts, but they'll be back. Whenever you hear this, they'll be back to once a week again. But yeah, that is a great show. Steve Eunice and Michael Bailey are the hosts. And Steve is in Australia, and he founded SupermanHomepage.com. And throughout the week on YouTube, when they're not live, they have interesting articles like and video pieces and videos and information all about all things Superman throughout all of the eras of the history of Superman. So check them out. And Golden Rage of TV, Pat McCormack on YouTube. He has excellent guests. So that's all good stuff. I hope I haven't forgotten anybody. Dave Sundstrom. He has a big channel on YouTube. It's all about nostalgia. He calls it The Good Stuff. Look at him as well. So, man, I hope I didn't forget anybody. But thanks for tuning in. And I hope you learned something. I hope you were entertained. I'm doing the best I can. And I'm excited about not only the guests I'm going to have on October 13th, but some that I have booked beyond that. So be there if you want and check it out. And I hope you have a great rest of your week, a great weekend. Whenever you're listening to this, whatever's going on in your life, I hope it's going strong. And thanks to Molly, my niece, for her movie reviews. That was pretty special. 10-year-old niece Molly with her 3 summer movie reviews. Thank you, Molly.